Ooh, man. What up? What up?
We got we got love on Wednesday. That's
What up? What
refined
up?
from yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice way to start the show. What up?
What's
Like and
happening?
subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe. People getting their notifications. Yeah, we'll get some people a second to actually get in the room. We're gonna talk some hip hop today. I got these lokes from the event the other day. Actually, man, I think I wanna keep these on. I'm on some fugazi shit today. I guess doing the
Nah,
shades on the inside.
I'm glad that you got to quick anecdote, quick story, right quick, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
before we get started. And I gotta do a shout out to one of our followers right quick too.
All right.
So so every Sunday and Monday, Mike, I park in the same spot at work. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So yesterday I'm pulling into work and I'm like literally probably I'm like 1 minute late. Like literally 1 minute late. It's 1 minute past when I'm supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, the police are sitting in my spot.
Right.
I park here every week. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell you why I park here, Mike. It's the best spot because it's got the most shade. Your car is fully covered in this area.
Okay.
The officer was obviously taking a break. So of course I tried, you know, to go find other parking, which would have been in the sun. I was a little frustrated, Mike. I really am used to parking here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I whip around, can't get the parking. I end up having to park right next to him. I was just frustrated because this is the awkward parking space where the shade's kind of funny and the sun be coming in and hitting the leather, making it hot. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the middle of all this, Mike, I forgot. It's like, well, you know, I'm wearing all black. I'm in this black car. I'm the only black guy in East Cobb. I'm like, I need to stop worried about this parking space and get my black ass
Mm.
inside before
Get
he
to where you
starts.
need to get to. Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Are you looking for your
He
clientele or
obviously
something?"
wasn't coming for me. He was obviously thinking the same thing I was thinking. He seen the shade. He's like, man, this is the best shade. Let's probably take a break, have some lunch right here before I hit the road.
Right.
But
Don't
but
provoke
that
me.
yeah, but that was yesterday. But it just took a minute for all that to register because I was thinking about the parking spot the whole time. Oh, no, no, black man, all black, black cars. Like, no, 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 black ass inside to work.
Shout out to everybody who came out to the National Black Arts Festival for Hip Hop 50 and hollered at us on Saturday. I was honored to interview, a few people that were actually there, some of the vendors. And, people got a lot of great stuff going on, a lot of great businesses going on. And we talked
Who did
about
you
some collab.
interview? Are we not letting that out the bag yet? Or are we
Well, I'm
releasing
about to
some
put out the
nuggets?
video probably after we finish our live or whatnot. But I will give you one interview that I did. I was honored to actually interview Big Oomp himself. And anybody out there in
Fire.
Atlanta, what I'm saying, knows that's a big deal, right? He was
Right.
given his own day in Fulton County at the ceremony for the work that he's done in the community and continues to do in the community. And once he got off stage, he blessed me with a interview. Blessed according to hip hop with an interview. So I'll
That.
get I'll get the whole thing of that out there in a second too. But yeah, Oomp's a real dude. It's funny, man. One of the guys that I went to school with, Brandon Robinson, shout out to him. He was repping Big Oomp since we was in middle school, man. Like he would come to school with the shirts and stuff. I think his sister was married to Oprah, something like that. I don't want to, don't quote
So
me, but it was something like that. But anyway, I saw Brandon there, and then when I seen him, it was like we dapped up, and then I was able to do the interview like right after
So,
that. So,
so, Mike, a couple of more like cleaning house and familial things, right quick. Part of our connection. You know what I'm saying, and even how I know you is that you know my dear friend Chris Hardaway. Y'all went to school together,
yeah, shout out to
and
Chris.
yeah, who I originally, that's the homie who really showed me around when I moved down here from Greensboro. But Holla is who introduced us. But funny thing, you know who put me on the Ben Goon? Chris Hardaway and Holla. That's who
Yeah,
Chris, when I moved down here, Chris used to take me. And when I got my whip and Holla didn't have his whip, I started taking Holla because he used to ask, which is how we kind of met. So Oomp had kind of something to do with like all of us coming together,
yeah.
you know?
He
Yeah.
told me, and I think he said on stage as well, and I'll put that footage up also. They're working on a documentary now. I don't know how deep they're gonna go as far as like the Big Oom documentary, but I think he said they got a Tubi situation that they're working out. Um, got restaurants, still got the record stores. DJs, and yeah, they're popping. So yeah, I'm gonna put that interview up, and yeah, it was a really good time, man, building with the
How
hip hop
much?
community.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. How much time did you get with him? Did you get like some good
I mean,
time?
I got some good. I mean, we were, I didn't want to
I
hold him
mean, we
up.
can
He
get a
had just
little re
gotten
up, is
off
what I'm
stage.
saying. Mike might need a little re up, a little studio time, a little Wednesday show
Yeah,
for
yeah.
who?
It was nothing
That's
like
what I was
that.
saying.
Yeah, it was a good 5 minutes or so. And it was kind
Yeah.
of like spur of the moment. So it wasn't like
Yeah,
I had
that's
a
what I
whole
mean. See,
bunch of
that's that little quick.
questions.
That's that entertainment tonight. Boom, 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 red carpet, hit and run. I'm saying
Yeah,
like
that's kind of what I was doing out there, man. It was fun.
right.
It was good.
No, no, no. That's dope. I'm glad that you got the opportunity to experience that. But we need to get the full on pull up for him.
Yeah, yeah, we
You know what I'm
really do.
saying?
We need to have a full. I think we can set that up because again, I talk to Brandon Robinson all the time, and I think that could be our link. But we'll put up what we do have and see if we can get something more extensive because I personally don't feel like Big Records in general, the whole crew. I don't think they get enough credit when it comes to the whole movement of Atlanta. We always talk about certain people from their era, and somehow in the mainstream of Atlanta's hip hop history, Big Oomp somehow gets left out. So, and I've always been very vocal about that here on this show. I believe that I feel like
You, you, you,
they don't get enough
he's
credit.
very. Part of why, and I see this now. Back to that interview with the Glove, he's very much like the Glove in the sense that he's done a whole lot that he really hasn't been notarized for properly within his own community, mostly because the neighborhood has produced quote unquote Jermaine Dupri's and so on and so forth and Outkast and things of that nature that Oomp sometimes doesn't get the appropriate amount of flowers for his contributions to the scene. So I would love to have him pull back up so we can help spread more of the word the same way we did with Glove earlier this year.
In my vantage point, I think, and I don't know, and I guess this would be a question for him or his crew, but I think the fact that they never signed a major deal is why. And
But
when they
look, but
had a
look at it now.
and when they had a major situation with Walk It Out, that record, that's the one that people outside of Atlanta know, right? The DJ Unk. And so when they did everything independent, for real, they kind of got locked out of the process. And what was happening was you had people like, Troy, Luda, and, well, I don't think Luda ever really worked with them. Let's just say Lil Jon, right? People like that who were working with them before they got their deals. But once they got deals, they're not working with Oomp and them anymore. So I don't know. But again, I think that might be a question for them.
It'd be fascinating to have him pull up and be able to unpack some of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very approachable, and I think just based on the interaction I had with him, I think he would be more than willing to sit down and talk about that. And I think that it would also promote or help promote not biopic, but the documentary that they're working on. So
That's dope. Now we do have Love the Genius on Wednesday
yes, okay,
at 6 p.m.
okay,
We
6
will have Love
p.m.
the Genius.
Love.
Yeah, Love the Genius. Who,
Just
in my
dropped
opinion, has
the
released an
Genius
album.
tape.
Yeah, the Genius tape is my album of the year thus far.
And
I know
we
you have it at
interviewed
number
my
2.
album of the year about a month or so ago. Shout out to Jay Ski. So we're getting interviews for
Somewhat.
album of the year, folks. And we got Hit Boy, which was album of the year last year with KD3. So Ransom need to come holler at us. Shit.
We've been blessed and highly favored.
Yeah. Ransom.
all.
Ransom, come holler at us. They say you got one of the stronger albums this year.
Combo right quick, Mike. Do you want me to start delving into what I was sharing behind the scenes about my thoughts on the Ransom project?
Sure. Let me get this super
behind?
chat real quick, and then yeah, go ahead. Our man with the super chat says, "Peace. Attended the Rappers Delight event, and it was awesome. We had an excellent time. Met some great vendors. The headphone experience was terrific. What did you holler at us, our man? I mean, we was out there. It was a great time. The headphone experience was awesome. What he's talking about, basically, they gave you headphones when you go in there, and it was already curated by other DJs. So it was like, I want to say it was like 5 different sets, and it took you through 5 different decades of hip hop. It's dope. But go ahead.
Fascinating and insightful. Well, no, and I say this, I like Ransom. I enjoy his music. I believe we've talked about him on this show with some semi-frequency over the last few years since we've been doing this podcast, Mike, and
Yep.
we've made some critiques, but overall, he gets applause from the fan base that follows according to hip hop. I think for the most part,
Very
and you know,
consistent lyricist.
yeah, album and MC wise, he's proven himself to be very, very formidable in this game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that his album was $5, and I was about to purchase it, Mike, but I did pause and I thought to myself for a second. You know, I understand what these artists are trying to do by usurping the mainstream and the label and putting the power and putting the financial and the economic backing behind it more directly in their hands. Not only do I understand it, I respect it. I happen to think and feel the same way. But the thing about it that I started to question is like, well, are these artists who doing this understanding how the cycle of that business works beyond the parameters of their project? Mm-hmm. And I say that from this respect. I thought to myself, it's like, well, I'm pretty certain that Ransom has heard of According to Hip Hop by now, but I don't know if Ransom follows According to Hip Hop. And his rationale business-wise for this contribution and the $5 to pay for this is, you know, to usurp a lot of things and put the more money in the hands of the black man and the black community. And I understand that and I respect that. Well, According to Hip Hop is a black-owned business, Mike. You own most of it. I own a very small piece. And we black, right? And it doesn't cost Ransom literally anything, not even $5, to click like and subscribe. Now, we have a economic history here that a lot of people aren't familiar with. We've created a couple of Black Wall Streets, most notably in North Carolina and in Oklahoma. Well, part of how we created those Black Wall Streets was by helping each other any way that we needed to be helped. You know,
Right.
see, our thing right now is playing a numbers game to get to a certain point to create sponsorship, to create revenue for us to do the things that we want to do. So the more people that click like and support According to Hip Hop, without even spending a dime, that takes us where we need to go, Mike. You know, I've already done our media kit. It's locked and loaded. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I don't think it's too much. Well, it's like, well, if I have to spend $5 to review your project because we're considered to be a reputable review site, well, it doesn't cost you anything to like According to Hip Hop and then copy According to Hip Hop after we do your review. And so what I would like to see from these artists that, you know, claim this economic freedom and taking these things in their own hands, I'd like them to like actually back it up by actually like supporting the black businesses and platforms that actually do review their stuff and review their stuff highly like we have been doing Ransom. And so I really want to review the project and I heard it's dope, but I'm really probably not until he clicks like and subscribe to our page and we know it. Because that's how this game goes too. Because when you step outside the parameters of that independence, well, understand you're dealing with another independent right now. And independently, that's just not how I do business. I don't give somebody money to support them when I don't know if they're willing to support me. When has that ever worked in commerce, Mike?
It's true. I think that, you know, I guess what we're dealing with here, and you're right. I love the fact that artists are going out there and trying to, you know, garner grassroots support for the work that they're putting in, because Ransom is putting in a lot of great work. And
Yes.
and he's been very consistent with it, and he's consistent with his market.
So do we.
And
So do we.
right. And what I would like to see, you know, from the efforts of, you know, a Ransom and what Black Star just did and what Talib and Madlib just did, you know, if you want to garner that grassroots support, I think that's great, but it would be beneficial to go to the grassroots and get that support as well. You know, like, you want to speak to the audience that we speak to, because I mean, our audience thinks highly of Ransom and the people who may watch us.
And
that,
Talib and Yasin.
exactly.
And Madlib. Like
Exactly.
all these guys. Like that's what I'm saying. Is like those guys that I'm speaking of. Or,
Yeah.
You know, I'm just using the Ransom as example. Well, they fall in the wheelhouse of the parameters of the people who follow us, like you guys and respect you guys. It don't even matter about how me and Mike feel.
Yeah.
They want to hear us talk about you guys. And so it's like about that, it's like, and what we're asking for is free and what you're asking for costs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, Mike, I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm just this type of guy too. I'm not your bitch. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I don't
So
want
like,
it to come across as any
no,
of
I
that.
mean, that's
You
how
know
I
what I mean?
fundamentally think
Like,
about it, because it's like what you really are doing is asking me to support you about my hustle but you don't support my hustle. I don't hustle that way. I'm sorry. And neither do they.
Well, Brick,
You know what I'm saying?
Brick says something. It says, Coop, did all the other artists that y'all support click like and subscribe to y'all channel? Do y'all
But
know
we
if
just
they
talked
did?
about that.
But y'all still support these artists, right? I mean,
Hold on,
I
hold on,
think
hold
that's a
on.
fair
Brick,
point.
Brick,
I mean,
pause. Hit Boy don't just follow us. He follows me and retweets my stuff regularly. And I can DM Hit and he'll hit me back. So like actually not only do these people that we're hitting up follow Armin, like all these people, Love 2 years ago follows us. Like all these people that we've been talking to, no. They follow us professionally, definitely, and about half of them follow us personally, and I can pull up and talk to them, including Hit.
I mean, the
So
following
it's
all
like,
that
so
stuff
I mean, I like
is
you, Brick, and I like
awesome.
when you be pulling up, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, fam, you just don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, they do. They follow some of us personally now. We follow Love personally now. Mike, I'll be waking up, you be liking her stuff before I do.
Yeah, and again, all that's cool. All that's cool. And again, I'm not asking for, I guess for the attention of artists. If, artists want to participate in the process, that's great. If they
I ain't
don't,
say all that. I said click
that's
like and subscribe to the page.
no. Understood. All I'm saying, and I do think that once you step out of the parameters of the streaming platforms or whatnot and want to get that grassroots support on that level, I think it would be a good idea to reach out to people who are speaking to the grassroots and holler at them, similar to what Armin did, right? I think the
Yes.
Armin situation is a perfect example of, you know what, this is where my audience probably is. Let me holler at them and see if I can, get a platform to speak to my audience. And I think that sometimes that gets missed because some of the artists just go to numerically the biggest platforms, whereas sometimes the biggest platforms don't speak to their particular artist that would have no problem, putting that $5 down. You know what I mean?
I mean, this is what I mean about it being grassroots, Mike. It's like, well, you meet people and you build and you forge relationships, Mike. I told you, it's like, I mean, a lot of people don't know this. It's like, oh, I got John B number. Because before we even had a podcast, and I was thinking about doing some live stuff. I was thinking about doing some R&B. Remember, I was thinking about doing an R&B portion for According to Hip Hop, Mike.
Right.
And I had met John B. And John B. and his freaking guitarist gave me like their phone numbers and like everything about like, he's like, oh no, hit me up, Coop, like call me. It's like, no, we really are out here forging relationships with people. You know what I'm saying? Because that is part of it. And you want me to forge a relationship economically with you, but you don't want to forge it back. That's different when you're independent. It's different when we got to play the game of going through the platforms and everything going digital. But like, quite frankly, when you're independent and you're putting your stuff up for sale, like directly in one place, it's like what you're saying is that you outside. Well, since you outside, I'm going to show you who I am outside. I'm not the type of dude when I'm outside that sits up there and gives a man $5 when he can't put his thumb up for mine.
Well, I wouldn't
I'm
say
never
what
going to
they
be that guy.
want. I wouldn't say what they.
I'm never gonna be
I
that guy.
wouldn't
Not
say
$5,
what.
not $2, not 50 cents, not a penny.
I
How
wouldn't
about
say
that?
what they
Since we
won't.
outside, Mike, if we outside, we outside.
I won't say what he won't do because I haven't reached out
No, I'm
to
asking him
ransom
to.
or
I won't say
anything.
what he won't do
And
either,
so
but I'm
that's
asking him to.
that's the position I would take from it. It's like, look, I would love for Ransom to holler at us because our audience loves Ransom, and this is what I'll do. I mean, I'll put the, I want to listen to the project, and I'm gonna listen to the project and support the project and see if he'll do the same thing, and I think it'd be a good idea, to actually get on the show and do an interview or whatever, because I do think that Ransom has retweeted According to Hip Hop at some point. I do believe that. So,
Okay. I'm just checking to
but it's
clarify,
it's
but
an
that's not.
open invitation and to talk about this album because outside of our audience and stuff, we really didn't know a whole lot about where the album was because again we get a lot of music that we have to listen to, so we thought it was on streaming platforms and went to we couldn't find it on streaming platforms, and that's where you found that out at. And I think a lot of those things in that part of the process, it would be a good conversation to have. So
Right. And it's not about Ransom either, because I actually do like Ransom and I really do want to hear the project. It just made me pause because it's like, Well, quite frankly, Mike, it's like in the time of us doing this podcast from our basements and growing and now having a show that's like live in studio on Wednesday, it's like, well, we're a business and like we gotta like operate like a business. And it's like we're an independent black business. And so we need the support the same way he needs the support. And so if
Brick
we
Mill
both
said
need
the
like,
ransom follows our show. So yeah.
okay.
So it's an open
Now I don't have
invitation.
see now I don't have a problem spending $5. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally that simple for me. That's all I was asking too. That's why I was
Okay.
like, that's why I started off by saying, well, I don't know if he follows us or if he's clicked like and subscribed to the page. Now if he has, oh wavy, Mike. We'll have a review on Wednesday live in studio after we interview Love.
Okay. Well, perfect.
Fair?
Very fair, and I'm looking forward to talking to Love about this Genius tape. I think there's a conversation that we need to
I want to talk to
forge.
Love about a lot.
I do. One of the big things, and I saw a clip from her
Yep, I
from
did
an
too.
interview that she was doing. We're probably talking about the same thing,
We
is
are.
this female MC thing.
We are.
Um,
It's all a clip.
what are your thoughts on? You know what? Fuck it. Let me play the clip. You know what I mean? Hopefully, we don't. This is fair use. It's all good. I want to play this clip
Free
because
days out here, Mike.
I don't
Plenty of
want to
paper to be
take
made
anything she
for us.
said
We're
out
gonna be all
of
right.
what's that?
So there's plenty of paper that's about to be on the table for us. We about to be major.
I
Table tape.
I don't want to take anything out of context. So let me play what she said real quick.
Absolutely.
Female rapper is more like,
I think the
how come I
context
don't
is
hear
fine.
like male teacher or like
Huh, can you hear
male
that?
photographer? When I hear female rapper, it's more like, how come I don't hear like male teacher or like male photographer? It's just like, why can't we just be rappers? When I hear female,
And what do you think about that?
I think. No, I'm gonna tell you now what I think. I'm gonna tell you what I know, Mike. When we were reviewing the project on Friday, and I said that she's the most complete female MC in the game. You do remember I paused and I said, hold up. I said she's just one of the most complete MCs in the game. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand how I've been conditioned to think, but I also know how the mind works. And until you start conditioning yourself with the true effort to make it different because of the things you've been exposed to, well, you're really not going to change. Because I've been exposed to her, like as in we did an interview, Mike, and it still might be my favorite interview that we did, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I felt the person and the artist. And the things that I felt that the artists were capable of, I saw a manifestation of it on this project that just got released. And so kudos to her for that. But really, when I made that statement and said she's the most complete female MC in the game, Mike, because I'd already talked to her and because I follow her and because I hear these interviews and the things she said, in my mind, Mike, when I said it, I said, she not gonna like that shit when she hear it. And that's what made me pause. And that's what I mean about the conditioning of it. And that's why I like what she's doing, because it is very inceptive in the sense that it's like, well, nobody's really started to drill that part of it into the male consciousness of ego of hip hop. But it's very, very possible because she did it to me and you watched it happen live. It was actually me thinking about her watching us and knowing that I wanted to interview her that made me pause. It's like, oh, hold on. This is part of her issue, though. So I need to be more, I don't even know what the proper word is right now off the top of my head. I just need to be more open and receptive to the point of view that she's putting down. And I need to stop letting my verbiage being dictated by what I've been conditioned to know as a man and start listening to a woman who, quite frankly, like she on fire. She NBA Jam on fire. We just both said it's the best mic performance we've heard this year. I don't believe we said female or male when we said that.
I think there's a couple things here. Well, first of all, they do this in all genres of music. I mean, you got award, ceremonies that do best female artist, best male artist, best female vocalist, best male vocalist, and I believe, huh?
I think she's talking about something specific to hip hop because I think
Well,
what
I
she's
know,
trying
I
to
mean-
unpack is deeper than what she's trying to unpack is a little bit deeper in my estimation. But go ahead.
Well, again, I'm just trying to get to the origins of where all these things come from. Like, because in music we get those things, and I think that originally, I think that best female vocalist and those things came into award ceremonies, and they do it in film and stuff too. At best, that's what Halle Berry won, right? Best
Right.
female lead. And I think they do these things to equal the playing field for, females in the craft because it's probably a real male dominated thing, right?
Mhm.
Spilling over into hip hop, I think it was and it's funny, man. We just celebrated the birthday of Larry Smith, who I think really gets skipped over when we talk
Run
about the
DMC.
great
Run
producers.
DMC, you mean?
Not only Run DMC, but when he produced that whole Escape album for Houdini and made Freaks Come Out at Night, made Friends, made One Love, that's an iconic producer right there. He pretty
Oh,
much
that's. Oh, I
set the
didn't know
front.
that. I didn't know he did that too, Mike. I just knew him from Run DMC. So,
Yeah,
so I just learned something new too. I
yeah.
didn't know he did the Houdini.
So
joint.
he set the frame and parameters, right? So we go to the origins of this whole thing on Wax. It was very clear that Salt and Pepper was kind of a response to Run DMC.
Yes.
And I think that the female MC from a foundation standpoint, and I know Shala Rock was, for Funky Four +1, and the +1 was her. So I think that there has always been a spotlight on the fact that this is our female MC or female counterpart, MC Light, being in the crew with, her brothers, MC Milk and all of that. So it's like, and then I think from the female perspective where songs were made, we can even go to the Roxanne thing. It's kind of, I
Let's.
think females' places in hip hop originally started kind of as a response to their male counterparts. And I think that's one of the reasons why they have been separated from the start. Did that make any sense?
Response. I think in that response, the response has relegated them to sidekick status too, Mike.
Because even if you look at the group that Angie Stone was in, that was signed
That's what I was thinking of.
Significant, that was signed to Sugar Hill Records, that was kind of a response to the Sugar Hill gang.
Right,
Salt and Pepper's kind of a response to Run DMC. And so, yes,
with,
this is
but,
why. Go ahead.
but what I'm saying is that for some reason, let's say the rationale is the response, as in, well, the women have a voice too.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
There's been a relegation of role. You know what I'm saying? Or a misappropriation of the role. You know what I'm saying? Like, as in, you're relegated to the sidekick role in that it's like coming with the response. It's like, because it's a response, it's not the original. You're relegated to sidekick. As in, you need the man so you can even have a response. Do you get what I'm talking about, what I'm saying about the relegation? And there is something about that, Mike, quite frankly, I wouldn't even call me educated or intelligent at this point, but I'll just say, as a black man, that fits a white systematic archetype that, quite frankly, has never worked for black people. And so
How
when I'm
so?
saying
What do
I
you
think
mean?
love is because that's what white men do to their white women. I mean, I don't know how else to kind of like put it to you. The white woman in society, part of why feminism even started is because white women realized they got relegated to the role of sidekick. Black women are like, oh, bitch, please. You know what I'm saying?
But did
So,
they,
like,
though?
that's real.
Okay. I mean, that
Yeah,
could be a
Mike,
whole
like,
deeper
like I
conversation.
tell people this all the time. Black men, when they acquire money and power, have a frightening capability of behaving just like their oppressors.
I mean,
so-
do we have an example? We could go on and on. We'll stick on topic.
I mean, but I just want to say that there is something about this, archetypally speaking, that like fits the role of like secretary / housewife when we say female MC, and that is something that's conditioned from a white man's world. Period. It don't matter if you like it or not. You don't gotta like it for it to be real.
Well, where is the woman in hip hop? Let's not even say female MC. The woman.
Well, she's been relegated.
No. Let me finish.
Response. She's been relegated. No, I'm telling you real quick. No, let me finish.
Oh, okay. I didn't finish my sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry. She's been relegated to the role of response, as in I need the man so I can respond.
Well, what
See
I
what I'm
was
saying psychologically, how the parameters of that work?
what I was gonna say though, even outside of that, right? Where is
Okay.
the female in raps Illmatic? Where's the female in rap in that era, right? And let's just say in that era specifically, because I think by the '90s, women in rap had their footing. Where is the only built for Cuban links by a woman in rap music? Where is the Illmatic? Where is the Ready to Die? Where is the Chronic? Where is the Doggy Style? Like where's the Southern Playalistic? And is that unfair to even ask those things? And I think honestly,
It
they
wasn't.
might not want to hear this, but I think sectioning females off, especially in that era, has helped the female MC not get swallowed up by these massive records.
I want you to tell that to Love on Wednesday.
I will. Because I would ask her too, where is the female Illmatic?
Oh,
And
we about to have a
I mean,
talk.
we just have to have some real talk.
No,
There's a
we have to
reason
be real,
why.
but we about to talk on Wednesday.
Lil Kim does have a
right.
classic, and you're right. Hardcore is a classic, but you know what? Hardcore is very female oriented. You know what I'm saying? It's a record that, and many of us have said this, men are not going to be running around, riding around, bumping some of these records that have these messages where Kim is saying what she's saying. That's more so for women to ride around too, right?
I don't know. I listened to Lil Kim. I was like, that's my kind of girl.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you'll listen
I'm
to
different.
it. Listen,
I'm different.
I
You know
can
what I'm
I can
saying? Like,
listen
that's
to
my
No
girl.
Time. I can listen to No Time and Queen Bitch and appreciate the record and how it was put together. But I'm not getting in my car riding around listening to her talk about doming niggas off. I'm not. You know what I mean? It's just
I
not
mean,
what
but
I'm doing.
Mike, but when you say that, you say you like No Time. She says in No Time,
I
I'm
do.
drinking babies.
Like I said, I can appreciate the record and when I hear it, but I am not, as a man, not getting in the car putting that record on. If it comes on, I'll
cold.
listen to it. You know what I'm
She cold on
saying?
the mic. She was the first. I mean, like for me, Lil Kim was the one that I was like, but she just cold. I just like her. Like, damn all that. Like, she's beautiful. She can rap her ass off. Her.
But as dope as that is, and as groundbreaking as that album is, that album and that portrayal pushes that female MC narrative even more because that's clearly a woman album. Now, you know the woman in rap that I listen to, and I've told you this before. I said, Dirty Harriet is my favorite female rap album ever. And that's one of those.
It doesn't sound like a female
Exactly,
rap album. Quote,
exactly.
unquote.
And see that album anybody could listen to, right? She doesn't pigeonhole herself into, only women are gonna listen to this. If you're a hip hop fan, you listen
it's
to
not
it.
that. No, Mike, these women have not been giving a voice with the same amount of airtime. Okay, so let's look at it like this, Mike. Like really. Let's not even go there. Let's keep it hip hop. I'm gonna go there if I have to, though.
Okay.
Hip hop's 50, Mike, so it's 2023, so that's 73, right?
Yep.
The female MC didn't ascend, first of all, to platinum heights until 1994 with Da Brat with Funkified, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So it took 21 years for a woman to go platinum. Women didn't start getting respect as commodities. As far as, and I'm not saying commodities as in their bodies or their physical attributes, even though that did have a part to play with it. I'm talking about as in a commodity on a record label, as an artist and a viable seller. Pretty much till Kim dropped Hardcore, that's 96. That's 23 years after hip hop has started. So you have to look at it from the perspective, Mike, of women being 2 decades behind the men in this sport, because that is realistically what's going on.
Why do you think that happened?
Because we live in a misogynistic ass chauvinistic world.
Well,
that's why women,
we can't
that's
just
why, no, Mike. That's why those '90s women rap albums are so empowering and more weight for women. It was their first opportunity to really talk their Shit, when they got to talk their shit, they did. When they realized it's like, no, I can talk my shit and be a commodity. That's what I'm gonna do. So what you're talking about, Mike, is what was, and what love is talking about is what it should be now.
Do
As in, we
you?
need to grow up and move past that whole female MC from No Time in hardcore in 1996. It was female MC then because it had to be. What love is saying is that it doesn't have to be and not supposed to be now because we're growing up and we're progressing and we're getting better.
I guess where I'm asking, man, is like, you don't feel like Light and Latifah had those same opportunities? Because the way I see it, as dope as Light and Latifah are, they're not Rakim, they're not Kane, they're not. I'm talking about on a skill set level. I ain't talking about, you know what I'm saying, the gender or any of that. But from a skill set level, they're not LL, they're not KRS, they're not Kane, they're not Rakim. Let's just be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't we have that album from Light or Latifah in that era that we hold as a top 20 hip hop album all time like we do those guys?
And that's fair, Mike. And I'll tell you, and I've always said this. Oh, well, I love her most, but I'm mad at her most because when Lauryn Hill never made a rap album, the rap album that you're talking about, well, she was like, when you're talking about, oh, well, it's like, well, none of them got a Rakim or a Kane like skill set. It's like, oh, Lauren, dude. You feel what I'm saying?
Well, we can't
so,
Andre 3000 her either.
Yeah,
you know?
But no. But this is what I'm saying is that like when I get upset because I take her not making a rap album as a missed opportunity, and not saying this to you like in a negative way, but the comment that you made to shut the comment the fuck up. Not you,
Yeah.
but the comment.
But no one's been able to do that. I got you.
But let me finish. But this is what I'm saying, and this is why Lauren is so important. Oh no, Mike, about her existence, don't tell me that it can't be done. We've heard evidence that it can be done. And so it may not have been done yet, but this is what I'm saying. We got to look at the now. It's very much capable of happening. It is capable of happening. Because here's the thing about it. It may not be a top 20 rap album, but what I would submit to you, Mike, is that when is the last time somebody made a top 20 rap album, period?
Yeah, I mean.
You feel me?
But
like,
even
think about what you're saying when you're saying what you're saying. It's like, when the last time somebody made a top 20 rap album, period, Mike? Because the last time that I heard an album that deserved even top 20 consideration was Good Kid, Mad City and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That's 2012 and 2010. So you're asking of something that not even the best of men can do, including Kendrick and Kanye and Cole and Drake and Future and Wayne. And you don't hold them any lesser for not having any of those albums in the catalog. None of those dudes have top 20 albums.
Well, let me say this.
Ye may have a top 20 album.
I think that a lot of that subjective.
You tell me Ye might be the greatest artist in the history of hip-hop, all things being considered. He ain't got no top 20 albums.
Well, again, I think all of that is.
Lil' Kim cool with her hardcore, right? Unless you misogynistic.
Let me finish.
Chauvinistic, got a problem with it.
Cool. Can I talk real quick? I think that's subjective. I think that because when we talk about eras, everybody has their era and everybody has their subjective top 20. I think for the most part, even if we look at anyone's top 20, not many female MCs in the 50 years fit in that, in any era. And that's just the honest truth. And we have to ask ourselves why. And it's not just men's fault that a woman didn't make an Illmatic or a woman didn't make a Blueprint. I mean, is there a woman who made an album to the level of the Blueprint?
So like,
or the Black Album?
Hold on. See, this is what I'm saying. So this is what I mean about the archetype. Now now you're making me do this. Now let's step out of hip hop right quick.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what's the best R&B album you ever heard by a woman?
Oh man, there's so many.
Nuh-uh.
There are.
But what is it?
If you ask me the best R&B album.
How about this, Mike? I want you to name your top 10 R&B albums right now.
Man, that's really tough to do.
Off the top of your head, the albums
but
that
you know
love
what?
The most.
I will say this. For women, I mean, the first one, when you said that, Toni Braxton's first album comes to mind. That's a perfect album. Anita Baker's Rapture comes to mind.
Rapture's cold. I got Rapture sitting over here on
It
vinyl.
is. You know what I'm saying? And again, I would never even sit there and be like, oh, well, Rapture ain't on the level of Luther Vandross's album because it is. You know what
It
I'm
is.
saying? Like,
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. Okay,
if
so
not better.
okay, so this is what I'm saying.
That's the problem, and not to interrupt you, but that's the problem we have in rap. I don't think that there's
We don't
that
have no,
balance
Mike. We
there.
have a problem in America. This is what I keep. I'm about to I'm trying to go somewhere with you.
Go
I'm
ahead.
trying to show you something. It's like, Mike. Well, I mean, what I'm trying to tell you is like, well, ain't no woman in black R&B pop music made no Thriller or Purple Rain, Mike, or no Inner Visions, or no Songs in the Key of Life, or no What's Going On. And don't you think that's kind of odd too? Don't you think it's odd that happened in R&B too, Mike? You want to go to pop culture and the white side of music that Andrew and I talk about on Mirror Music 99 and want to see how it plays the same exact way? No, we got a problem in this society, and it trickles down on into hip hop. And I think that's the part about it that you're ignoring. It's like, no. None of the women albums in any genre compete with the best male albums, Mike.
You don't think
that
Rhythm
that's
Nation
very-
does? Because we
Well, I'm
always
trying to tell you, Mike.
hold on. We hurrah Janet for her run all the time, and I've said the only person who has a 4-album run like Janet is Stevie. We can't even
Mike.
say that in rap.
So pause, come back to me. Much like when you like, well, who's the chick that who's the female MC that can rap like Rakim or Lauren? Just like they got Janet, we got Lauren, but it's not enough because nobody's walking around here comparing Janet's catalog to Stevie's, Prince's, or Michael's, and that's bullshit that you say so.
And they should.
And you know that.
I think that run that Janet.
No, the run might be real, but people don't compare. Why?
I think people hold Janet very high.
Because she's a Mike. Mike, you're not hearing me though, Mike. Like for real, you're not hearing me.
Yeah.
The music might be there, but even with the music being there, people don't compare. Why the fuck you think that is? Could it be because she's a woman? Ding, ding, ding.
You don't think
Ding,
people?
ding, ding, Mike. You making the point for me when you bring up Janet. It's like, no, Janet's 4-album run is as good as anybody's, period. But we in black music don't talk about her the way we talk about Prince, Michael, Stevie, and Marvin. Why is that?
I feel like we do, but
No,
this
we
is what
don't,
I will
Mike.
say.
Mike, no, we don't, Mike. You wild, Mike. No,
This
we
is what
don't.
I will say.
We just talked about how Janet's been treated, Mike, on a couple of shows.
Yeah.
So don't say that. Don't nobody treat Prince and Mike like that at no damn Super Bowl.
Of course, and I think the way
Hold on,
that.
Mike. Super Bowl. What happened to Janet at the Super Bowl? What happened to Prince? This motherfucker Prince.
So,
can come out to the Super Bowl.
time
Mike,
out.
Prince can come out in a do-rag in the rain in the Super Bowl and the shit is okay. Janet has a white boy. So it's her fault.
So you
Stop
think
playing like
you
you're
think
playing
what?
on-
Hold,
the women
hold.
are not playing on the same playing
You
field,
think?
Mike. They're not.
You think what happened to Janet happened because she's a woman, or because she's black, or she's a Jackson?
Is anybody about to try to rip anything off of Michael Jackson or Prince's clothing during a set at the Super Bowl? Are you hearing what I'm saying about how shit operates?
Hold on, let me get to
When
these
you think
super
this
chats.
way, you thinking like Mike, you thinking like a man, and I
man.
dig it, and you're a man.
I'm a
But
man.
think
Yeah.
about the women out there that are saying to themselves, "Oh, now Prince and Michael Jackson, and don't nobody come and rip a piece of their clothing off of nail shades." Think about it, Mike. People come and take the cape off James Brown and come and put that motherfucker back on too.
But let's not act like Michael Jackson hasn't caught flack over his career either, though. You know,
Not about the music, Mike.
about a lot of
His music still gets held up here, and if you want to know the truth, Janet's 4-album runs better than Mike's.
It is.
So why we hold
I've
Mike
always
so high?
said that, and I think
So
most
Mike,
people would say that.
But Mike, people don't say that.
They should.
That's what I'm trying to tell you is what's going on. It's because Mike's a man and Janet's a girl. Like
You
get it
think
through
so?
your head, Mike. Yes, Mike. Yes, that's exactly why it's going on. Yes.
Let me get to the super
You need
chats
women
real
to
quick.
tell you, Mike. You need women to tell you.
Our man with
I
the
have
super
women
chat.
tell me this shit, Mike.
Let me get to these super chats real quick. We're behind. Our man with the super chat says, "I went to y'all booth when nobody was there. We must have headed out to that Drake and Future thing, which the link is out there on the station head. Excuse me. Y'all should have been tuning in, man. We had a great time. I'm gonna go through that too." Jay Short with the super chat says, "Where are the great female collabos and posse cuts? Very few. It is a man. Is it man's fault that Kim and Foxy never got a record? What female started a good music or Maybach music? women gotta own some of this shit. I think those are all very good points. I mean, because at the end of the day, Jay and Nas were able to hash out their differences, move forward, make records together.
Hold on. First of all, Foxy and Kim are on the Total No One Else remix together with the Brat. So they have been on record together before. As far as posse cuts, there's that record. There's Ladies Night. There's the I Wanna Be Down remix.
And where do those rank in the all-time lexicon of posse records?
I mean, I personally think Ladies Night is pretty high.
Think
I
so?
think Ladies First with Moni Love and Queen Latifah should be held pretty high. Yeah. Like, don't you think Cowboys with Digga and Lauren doing the back and forth is a posse cut with the Fugees and the Outsiders? That's pretty high. Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
don't know
Women
if that
be
count.
putting
I mean,
it's a posse cut. It's the Fugees and the Outsiders. How
no,
is
I
not
love
a
that posse cut. No, I
And there's
love that
two
posse
females on the
cut.
posse cut, right, Mike?
I love that posse cut, but I don't.
I don't know if What a Man by Salt and Pepper is technically considered a posse cut because
Nah.
In Vogue is an R&B group. But
I love that
posse
song. It's a
cut
great
is,
song.
You know? But that's what I'm saying. Like, Mike, I get what you're saying about the quality, but what I'm saying is if you go look in all genres of music, it's always the men that get the most notoriety and are considered to have the greatest albums. Don't
Well,
you
you
think
know,
that's odd
Michael
that this
Jackson
happened?
said something.
But you've never answered my question, Mike. I asked you, don't you think it's odd that that's happening? You really haven't answered me yes or no, that happens in all factions of music, not just hip hop, that the men always dominate. You don't think that's a little strange and has something to do with it at all?
Who do you blame for that?
I don't know, man.
Really?
Kinda our
Well,
fault.
all right, this is what Michael Jackson said, and he said
White
something
man's
really
world.
interesting. Michael
Fucking
Jackson said
America.
something very interesting, and he was talking about when him and Madonna went out, right? And he said that Madonna always had this disdain for him because, you know, he's able to. This is just the bottom line, right? With women artists, they're not going to get women to go out there and pass out at their shows, right? Like when a man hits the stage, you'll have the crazy female fans. Like look at Britney and not Britney. Look at Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and what they were able to garner with their fandom and the young girls, right? And so Michael was able to do that, you know, on a grown-up level. So you had women going crazy when they see a man go out there on stage. But on the flip side, as Madonna's performing, as big of a star as she is, men, we're not going to go to a Madonna or Beyonce concert and go crazy over the woman like a woman's going to go crazy over a male on stage. Correct?
Isn't that conditioning? Isn't that how I started this conversation?
Is that conditioning on who's in? Women's in
Society.
too?
You don't think society's conditioned women to do that? Because you need to be careful when you answer that because there are women watching.
I mean, it's possible, but again, it's still
possible.
I mean,
Mike, let me ask you something. Do you just respect your mother and father, or were you conditioned and raised to do so?
I was raised to do so, but their
So when
actions.
women are- so
Hold, let me
I'm not finished. So you answered
can
my
I
question.
answer the
No,
question?
you answered my
Coop.
question.
What you're doing
No, Mike,
is
all of your questions-
hold.
Mike, every time I ask
Time
you a
out.
question, you have like a
Coop.
two-part answer when it's a
This
one-part
is
question.
no, but Coop, this is what you're doing. You'll ask me a question, and then when I answer the part that you want me to answer, you'll start again. Let me finish the whole thing. Yes.
No, I wasn't finishing. I'm
You
gonna
asked me
piggyback
if I
on-
respected my parents or I was conditioned to. I said yes, I respect my parents, but I also the actions that they, you know, the way they carried themselves throughout my childhood continued that respect. So yes, I was raised to respect my parents, but if they carried themselves another way, my level of respect would be different than it would be just inherently. So I wanted to fully answer that. So yes, I respect my parents, but my parents
look,
also
that
did a
doesn't
lot
change
throughout
the
my childhood that garnered that respect. The respect is earned.
Right. So listen to what I'm saying. What you're saying is that you were conditioned to do something, and that conditioning was reinforced.
Yeah.
And you don't think that happens to women in this society when it comes to placating the men. Because what you're doing is still, like Mike, you can go deeper into the answer. It doesn't change the fundamental basis. You do what you're conditioned to do. Your conditioning was reinforced. It's the same thing with how women are taught to placate towards men in this country. It's a conditioning that's reinforced the same way your parents with their behavior reinforce their conditioning of respect. It's the same thing.
So women were conditioned to go crazy over Elvis, Michael Jackson, the Beatles, James
No,
Brown.
no, no. I said
Um,
condition to placate. You're saying go crazy. I don't use the word go crazy. I said
okay,
placate.
play
This society is designed for women to placate more towards men, Mike.
fandom.
And ask your mama. Because you acting like that's not real. And I get that you might have an arbitrary point, but there actually becomes like points in conversations where it's like you really got to keep it real. It's like, Mike, you're helping raise a daughter. You've got a wife. You've got a mother.
Uh-huh.
Go ask them these questions and show them this and ask them what they think and then see the response and see how right that you feel
So
after you deal with them.
what are we
Because
asking?
it's easy to kick what you're kicking to a man and to our male audience, Mike. There's a whole crowd of women out here.
What do you think I'm kicking then? I mean, because I guess I'm
You're
getting
kicking that
lost in
this
the
is a
whole point.
condition within the. You're kicking that this society isn't catered more towards men than women on every single level, and that there's not a conditioned stimulus behind it. You are kicking that with your antithesis points. You understand that, right? You're saying there's not a conditioning to women having to do this towards men in the society, and that's just totally false, Mike.
What
It
you're,
is.
I,
As
you know,
somebody that's raising a daughter, I'm telling you.
this is what I'm doing. I'm
But I
responding
cannot
to,
kick that shit to my daughter and call myself a good father.
look, that's
Not that
not,
shit you
what am I
That shit you
kicking?
kicking. That shit you kicking, I can't kick to my daughter.
What am I kicking?
Because you're pretty much saying that it's an even playing field and it's
I
not.
never said that.
That is what you're saying through your rhetoric. That's what
That's
I'm saying. I
not,
don't think you're hearing yourself.
this is what I'm saying. You ask me why Michael, Prince, and all of them get held to a level that you don't think Janet gets held to. I'm saying the fandom for male artists is different than the fandom for women
Because the
artists.
society
Now,
has conditioned it.
if you want to sit there and look at the numbers, Janet's numbers rival anybody on any
Yeah,
level.
Mike and Princess.
No one rivals Michael's numbers. And let's just be perfectly honest.
Mike or
As
the
much as,
Beatles.
listen,
Think about it.
cool. As much as I love Janet Jackson, you know how I feel about Janet Jackson. From a talent perspective, she's not Michael and she's not Prince. So tell me the female artist from a talent level that is Michael or Prince, and we can have that conversation. That's all I'm saying. And as great as Beyonce is, she's not Michael from a talent level. She's not. Now, I'm not sitting here saying things ain't, unbalanced, but we also got to look at the work. No one, if there was a female artist that put out an Illmatic and we didn't herald it like we should have, then there would be a case. But there's not. And I'm not saying there aren't any disadvantages there, but when we sit there and look at the albums made are what they are.
Mike, this is what I'm saying, Mike. You're looking kind of like at the work, and you're not looking at the process. And what I'm telling you is this is something that is kind of working from the ground up. When I'm saying it's working from the ground up, the conditioning is working from the ground up. As in, Janet Jackson gonna get Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis, which is phenomenal. Michael Jackson gonna get Quincy Jones. Okay? There is,
Janet's
Mike,
not
you're not letting me
Michael.
talk. Mike, for real, if we're gonna have this conversation the same way I just kind of let you speak and finish, you gotta let me talk more than 10 seconds.
Go
Just
ahead.
for real. It's not on the same playing field, Mike, on any level, starting at the ground level. So when you're talking about the final output of the product, what I'm trying to express to you is that the final output of the product isn't to that level that you're talking about, because at the ground floor, all of this shit is going on, and these separations and these conditionings are happening. And so even at the best level, the best that you're going to get is a Control or a Rhythm Nation. You're not going to get a Purple Rain or a Thriller because of how this society works. We're not getting to what's going on or songs in the key of life from a woman, because at the ground, because of how this system works, especially in music, Mike, like you and I know what music is to women. So like when you're pulling up and saying these things, and I know what you know, some of behind the scenes, it just doesn't add up to like what your thesis is really. Because what I'm speaking about is that product that you're talking about not happening. I'm telling you, it's not happening because of what's happening at floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to get to 10 before it ever makes it to the penthouse, Mike. And you know, as somebody that's got a mother, got a wife, and got a daughter, what some of those instances are. And so for to pull up at the end of it and say, well, we don't have no Purple Rain. It's like, well, Mike, you got a mom, you got a daughter, you got a wife. You know why we ain't getting no Purple Rain, Mike? And stop acting like it's just about talent. Because I have seen men in this business who don't have the best talent in the world make great fucking albums because they've had fucking the right supporting team behind them, and you watch it happen all the time too. Now, why don't women get that type of support? When has how about this? Lauren nicer than 50 could ever pray to be. Whenever anybody got behind Lauren the way they got behind 50, as nice as Lauren is.
Come on, Coop.
If you're not Lauren on the mic, don't get it twisted.
People got behind the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Come on.
That's an R&B album for the most part, Mike. We talking about rap respectfully. They did get behind it. It won 5 Grammys. It sold millions upon millions of records. Lauren is one of the most talented people of the generation in all time. She's epic. But Mike, as an MC, ain't nobody ever got behind the machine that was Lauryn Hill the way they got behind 50, and they are not the same level as lyricists and MCs. Why do you think that is? The machine is more geared towards a 50. Like, even people like Cam have hit it bigger than Lauren. Like, Mike, don't tell me that doesn't have something to do with them being men. That's a lie.
Well, again, I think you're misinterpreting what I'm saying because, like you said, the machine is catered towards men because women, at least during the time when people were buying records, were the ones out there buying records, right?
Now, how
that's
LL
why.
exists if that's true?
Huh?
How LL make it this far if the men is the one running shit?
That's what I'm saying. The women. Listen to what I'm saying. The women were buying it, right? So the women were more willing to support an LL Cool J more than they were some of MC Light, correct?
Right, but what I'm saying is because because the women are being told to cater to the male demographic because they have to fit a certain bias to get in. They have to get a certain level of cred. They have to spit a certain way. That's why I'm saying the buy-in is different, Mike. LL just get to make records for ladies. Like, the ladies don't just get to make the records that they want. LL get to do what the fuck he want. You don't understand that part?
So you think that the women haven't been able to do what they want?
Is this world biased towards men or women? Yes or no? The biases, when a bias happens, Mike, a bias doesn't exist in one format. It exists in every format. Those biases affect quality of music. That's really it at the end of the day. If you're acknowledging the bias, you're also acknowledging the fact that there's going to be a bias in the quality of music. You understand that?
What bias do you think that...
You can't accept, Mike, you can't accept the fact that there's a bias going on and then expect the highest quality. You don't get to have it both ways. I'm sorry. That's not how the real world works.
So and you're right. It's not how the real world works, but how does the real world work? We need to grade everybody else on the curb?
No,
are we grading things on results?
And that's why love is saying, we need to start tearing some of these biases down, and that's why love is saying don't call me a female MC, because in order for an MC to make that album that you're talking about, the bias has to stop existing first.
Let me get to somebody
saying what she's saying.
Let me get to some of these super chats real quick. Jay Short with the super chat says Lauren chose to sing, Latifah chose to cross over, Eve, Kim, and Cardi tapped out. We'll see with the new crop, but a lot of the top female rappers quit. Who is the female Nas or Ghost who kept going? Mad Max with the super chat says, LOL, Coop, I agree with your Genius Take Tape album of the year. Hers and my boy Harlem Neek Buck, top 2 spots. That's what's up. Michael Williams in the super chat says, I know it's very early, but based on his trajectory, where do you think Jokic will rank all time by the time he retires? He's already a top 10. Is he already a top 10 center? We'll talk Jokic talk at the end because that can get us going somewhere else. Mad Max says, My Life by Mary is as good as it gets, any male and R&B album. The female MCs just ain't got the males. They don't put words together nearly as good. Not deep. Let's see. Mad Max also says, Beyonce gets praised as if she's MJ. So, Coop, you're off. The female rappers ain't the men. Women aren't as good as men in rap. Singing is different. Mad Max also says, men dominate because men think on a higher level. Men create, women recite most of the stuff women do is designed by men. Let's see what else we got here. We got Jonathan Coleman with the super chat says, congrats on the 12,000 subs. Mike and Coop, appreciate that. Appreciate y'all. Like and subscribe.
Great.
Yep. Just hit that 12,000. Mad Max with the super chat says, society is skewed to the women today more than ever. Look at SZA. She dropped a better album than anyone last year, and everyone said it. Fair point. Andrew with the super chat says, Coop, It's 100% right. We can't look at this only through a man's perspective. We as men are to blame for this. It's just the truth. This is a misogynistic world, and men get the most respect in it. Not right.
Right. And step number one, Mike, is actually admitting that that's going on. So like what you're doing right now, it's like I'm not saying that you're part of the problem, but it's like you're kind of like a blockade because it's like you're missing that it's like you refuse to come off of a little this. I'm a man and I have a man's perspective. It's like, oh no, we ask
No.
women to think like men all the fucking time.
No, I'm not asking anybody to think like a man. I'm not asking a woman to be a man or anything. All I'm
No, I
saying,
said we as in societally, Mike.
no,
I
I'm
said
just
we. I
saying,
didn't say you.
I'm just saying, like straight up. Only thing that I'm saying, because I think what I'm saying is getting misconstrued, is yes, there are disadvantages, this, that, and the third. When we get in the studio and the beats get dropped, I mean, we look at where is the great adventures? You know what I'm saying? Like from a quality standpoint, I'm not asking there to be a female Slick Rick or the trade bars with a
Oh,
British accent or
you
anything.
are.
I,
That's what I'm
I'm
saying. Though, Mike, you're
not.
saying you're not asking for these things, but then on the back end of your argument, you're like, "Where's my purple tape and my
Listen,
doggy style?" So you
how
are.
about this? I never look at Serena play and say, yo, well, is she doing what Nadal's doing? No, Serena is her own because she's a great tennis player. Bottom line, and if we take away the male female thing and we're just sitting here saying like, yo, best rappers, right? No female conversation at all. Best rapper. Based on the work and the resume and all the criteria that we put together, I'm going to name 50 guys who have those criteria before I get to a woman, honestly. Other than Kim. But yeah,
50?
yeah, based
You
on the
are.
resumes,
Let's pause for a second.
how many female MCs are better than Bun B? Based on his resume.
Based on resume alone,
Everything that
when
he's done.
are you talking about? No, are you talking about like our rubric?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
yeah.
Well, Mike, Mike, I'll just pull it up and I'll tell you based on our rubric how many female MCs are better because he's in our rubric. You know what I'm saying? So, like, hold on and I'll tell you. Since you asked, hold on.
Hold on, let me get some of these super chats while you're looking. Charles Manning with the super chat says, Coop is so passionate about his opinion. You miss the point sometimes, fam. Gotta relax. LOL.
Nobody asked me all that.
Jay Short with the super chat says, Coop, you don't like the happy-ish, but isn't that the same hyper masculine mentality some men use when they say that they don't like female rap?
No. I don't like the happy shit because I've been through a whole lot and I've been traumatized and I don't relate to the happy shit. That's why I've actually had a real ass life, been through real ass things. Don't like hearing about happy shit I can't understand. Got nothing to do with that hyper masculine bullshit you talking about. Next.
Mad Max with the super chat says, let's keep it funky, man. A lot of these chicks get graded on a curve. You have the nerf men for you have to nerf men for the most women to compete. Yeah, he said you have to curb men for most women to compete.
Got a lot of growing up to do. We do. Hip hop got a lot of growing up to do still. Like I'm learning from this conversation, but based on the responses I've been getting in the chat, and based on what you've been saying, Mike, I mean, my only real sentiment at the end of the day is hip hop just has a lot of growing up to do. And I'm not talking about the women when I say it. I don't know what else to say, really.
Mad Max
Got
with
a
the
lot
super
growing
chat.
up to do, Mike.
Mad Max with the super chat says,
I hope Love sees and like has some questions for us on Wednesday. Actually,
I think it'll be a great
LT
dialogue.
to make sure that I'm going to ask LT to make sure that Love watches this, since all these guys that have pulled up today, including you, Mike, know so much about what the female MC.
Hold on. Why are you framing me in this light?
Everything that you said, Mike, has already been recorded for.
I know, and I'm not backing down on anything I'm saying.
No, because here's my thing, Mike. I don't claim to know, but about this, it's like I'll go to a woman and ask in a second because I don't even claim to be right about this. I'm just expressing my perspective based on the experiences that I've shared with what women have shared with me. Like in a conversation like this, I'm not sharing no man's opinions because we're not talking about a man's place in it. So it's like I'm going to share the thoughts of the women that have shared with me, including thoughts that I've heard love emanate from following her on social media all these years. And so what I would like to do at this point is move on to something else, since all you guys know so much about the female MC, and let's see what the female MC who don't like to be called the female MC has to say about it on Wednesday.
Well, again, man, like I said, I'm not sure where you think I'm coming from on this, but all I'm
I just
saying,
heard what you said.
all I'm saying is, where is the woman MC who made College Dropout, or an album that is comparable
all I'm
to
trying
that?
to tell you is that when you're saying that, why are you not talking about what fundamentally is going on at the ground level from preventing that from happening, especially as a black man that knows the things that have kept us from ascending to certain levels, which was really where I'm going. We as black men know the things that have happened to us as blacks that have kept us from ascending, but we don't think that some of things have been done to women that have kept them from ascending, have been kept back in this society from ascending to certain heights. The same thing is going on with women. And it's been documented and notarized, Mike. And I know that you know these things, and acting like that they don't exist right now is fascinating to me.
I'm not acting like anything doesn't exist. You're taking what I'm saying somewhere else. What I'm saying, and you mentioned,
no, Mike, you're asking why the college dropout,
but
purple tape doesn't get
Coop,
made.
you're not letting me finish.
It's happening at the ground floor with
Coop.
the misogynistic and chauvinistic behavior, and you keep acting like it's not going on.
You won't let me finish a thought. You're taking what I say and then stopping and going on a tangent. This is what I'm saying. Hold up, can I finish? Can I finish, please? You brought up Prince, and I just brought up Kanye. And so, from what Kanye does from a production level and what Prince does, he makes Sign of the Times virtually by himself, right? So, where is, the woman talent that would be able to make, rap and produce a College Dropout, or let's just say Graduation, or something to that magnitude? You know how I feel about Janelle Monáe and Art Android. I said it's one of the best albums to ever come out of this city. Incredible talent, beginning to end. I don't care if it did 20 million, if it did 20,000. That is an incredible effort that I listen to all the time. I would love for there to be a woman in rap who made an album to the level of a College Dropout that I could continuously go back to. I think what Shay Noir does is incredible. And I think that, she is on the path of doing those things. But we just haven't seen those things in hip hop yet. And I think now we're seeing the fact that the floodgates have been open, where you can pretty much have people from anywhere and everywhere put stuff on the platform, where we're seeing a lot of female MCs flourish. I think it's a great time, honestly. And I gave Megan her credit too. I fuck with Tina Snow mixtape. I love the album that Megan just came out with. I do.
You sound like the white guy. It's like, these are my black friends.
No, I'm just giving credit where credit's due. But the reality of the situation.
Like you sit up here defending yourself. Now you're like, no,
I'm not defending anything.
I'm
just adding clarification, because you're painting this in a way that it's not supposed to be painted. The fact of the matter is, there isn't a woman out here who has made a To Pimp a Butterfly. It's just not. The fact that you have to go to Lauren and basically create a fantasy album that doesn't exist proves that.
I didn't say fantasy album, Mike. What I have said is that you're asking for something, and all I'm asking you to show me is that, well, if you're acknowledging that there's biases, which you've acknowledged, correct?
Bias in what way?
In the fact that they're women.
Okay, music. So when they get in the studio, there's a bias.
No. Well, let's start societally first and start at the top, Mike.
Okay.
Do you believe that women face biases in society that men don't?
Of course.
Okay, so that's step one. Do you think that those biases translate to music, Mike?
Based on R&B, I can't say that.
I didn't say R&B. I said music. As in music as a whole,
How so?
Does the bias of a man's world versus a woman's world translate into music?
Are we talking the creative process, or are we talking the business side of it? Because that matters.
Everything, Mike. That's why I said the music business, as in everything that comes with it, down to the producer, the engineer, the songwriters, the record deal, the years of the record deal, everything, Mike. Is it the same for women as it is for men in music? Yes or no?
That's a loaded question.
There's societal bias. but now you're struggling to admit that there's a musical bias.
Because
I just don't understand
because
how you can. I don't understand how you can see that there's a micro problem, but think that it doesn't translate down to a macro problem, and not see that it translates down to the micro.
because when
Please
you say
explain.
because when
Not
you say
true.
there's a bias there, then if it were, because there are women who actually do
I didn't say they
extremely
do.
well in the music industry. You got a Beyonce out there. You got a Taylor Swift out there. You got a Mariah Carey out there. You got a Whitney Houston out there. You know what I'm saying? You got a Janet Jackson out there.
Right.
So I guess
But
I'm
there's
just
still a
asking
bias,
you. I
Mike.
guess I'm just
We're
asking
talking
you
about.
to clarify the bias that you're talking about in music.
I said all of the things considered, like the same way you can consider all things with society, consider all things with music. But also, too, Mike, if the answer is no, then I want you to explain to me, economically speaking, on a macro and then a micro level, how a macro problem can exist in society and not translate down to the micro, because that's literally what happens with a micro problem, with a macro problem. So if this is a societal problem, Mike, that means it's a problem that translates and permeates all factions of our society, including music. So
Yeah.
the bias exists.
And
Is
we
that
could say the
fair to
same
say?
about race too. So
Mike, I say it about race all the fucking time because it's true. So what then? Yes, there are biases about race and with women in this country, and it translates and permeates on all levels. Newsflash, it's not just a black thing. Women are oppressed in this country too. These are facts. Those
okay.
facts permeate and translate into things. Mike, when you translate it into the creative arts, Mike, the same way that the black condition and situation affects us economically in a way that it doesn't affect whites, if you think creatively speaking what's going on with women doesn't affect the musical output on a creative and quality level, Mike, I'm just going to tell you respectfully, I think you're missing the boat and you need to check yourself, because it's better to be early to the party than late, my brother.
Now what do we do about it?
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. Part of what I like what Love is doing is because, well, I don't know if you know this about the black condition and struggle. I'm just joking, Mike. I know you do. Well, Mike, we had to fight for it and stamp our feet, and people had to start shouting to get the change to happen. So she's shouting. So your way of thinking about it, Mike, it might need to alter a little bit because somebody's shouting right now. And that's what I'm saying as a black man that knows where our struggle comes from and knows how it permeates through all levels of our society and existence. The fact that you don't understand that that happens to women too, and that would affect the ability of making a college dropout or to pimp a butterfly, like, that's wild to me that you don't understand that. Me knowing, when I'm saying wild, I'm saying that me knowing you the way that I know you. It's like, oh, you don't think that that's going down, my G? It's like, you know that's going down, my G. Stop playing with me. You know we ain't getting no to pimp a butterfly out of these women. Come on, Mike. Like, you know that already. Come on, my dude.
I feel like our most talented overall women artists choose to sing. And,
That's fair too.
and I think that that's something that we've consistently seen in hip hop. When you get a Lauren, even when you get a Latifah, and even in Love's case, she made it her point to say that she's more of a fan of R&B than she is rap. Same thing with Janelle. Janelle can rhyme. Janelle can rhyme, and I think that if Janelle were to put those skill sets that she once had, because I ain't really feeling the new album to be perfectly honest, but those skill sets that she once had in 2010 to some hip hop, then yes, she would have probably one of the stronger hip hop records that be around. Same thing with Lil Sims. I mean, I think Lil Sims is super dope, but it seems like our most talented women rappers tend to lean towards the singing part of things, and I think that has kind of curbed why we don't have the women making albums that are to the level of some of our great male counterparts as well.
So this is what I mean. So now let's think about the biases by genre and think about the ages of the genres. Well, for these women who can sing and rap, well, there's more money and less misogyny in R&B than there is in hip hop, Mike. So why would you take on less money and more misogyny? That's asking our women to make bad choices too. You get what I'm saying? That's why it's like, well, Mike, and this is what I'm saying. I get what you're saying because everything that you're saying is actually factually correct. All I'm saying is what you're asking for isn't correct because you're talking about what's tangible I'm talking about what's intangible. And you have to understand it's the intangible things that I'm talking about that's preventing the tangible product that you're talking about from occurring. And so I'm with you. It's like hardcore is probably still the best female rap album ever, Mike. I told you it's like it's top 50 and barely. So there's smoke about what you're saying about the talent. All I'm saying is if some of these ladies were in the same situations as some of their male counterparts, I do think we may have already had that moment already. So when you're speaking as if Salt and Pepper and MC Light and Queen Latifah are on some even playing field, that's not true. Talking about the Brat and Lil Kim and Foxy Brown like they're on some sort of even playing field, that's not true. Let's make the playing field even, and then let's see what the ladies do. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why Love is like, oh, well, go ahead and take that down. Part of what she's trying to do is trying to rip the moniker down so the level field can start being looked at as a level one so they can just do what they do. Because until we start tearing down our boundaries and our barriers and building up new and appropriate ones, we're never really going to progress. That's what the struggle of Black people is all about in this country. And so the people in this chat that don't agree with me, I'm sorry that you don't agree. But quite frankly, it's like I don't really think you understand the struggle totally, too. And I think you're being a little naive and a little narrow-minded, and I think Love's being a little forward-thinking. And I always rather be forward than backwards, but that album that you're talking about, Mike, that's not happening until this level playing field is on. Because when you're bringing up Sign of the Times, do you think Janet Jackson in 1987 could call Sheila E the way Prince did and just be like, hey, so I want you to drum for me for a year and be part of the movie and be part of the set and help me drum on the album randomly just whenever I feel like it? Do you think Janet Jackson could do that in the music business in 1987, even after Control and in the process of making Rhythm Nation? Answer is no, because for as good as Control and Rhythm Nation is, that shit ain't Purple Rain to people.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are big time.
They're not Quincy Jones, Mike. All respect.
No, nobody's Quincy Jones. And again, I love Janet, and I think this is kind of just an off example because Michael. No, I love her more. Michael put in the work since 1969, Coop. You know what I'm saying? And before that. So Michael basically set the stage for that whole family. So I don't think it's fair to even if both of them were if both of them were men, it wouldn't be fair for me to say the little brother that comes around at 86 is supposed to have what the big brother who created the whole lane since 65 should have. You know what I mean? That's not fair. Michael put in way more work than Janet. That's not fair.
79, Mike, but I hear you though.
No, Michael put in the work. He carried that family, man. And Janet carried the torch after that.
Mike, the Jacksons are talented, Mike. Stop
They
that.
are.
Stop that.
They're not Michael talented, though.
The Jacksons. No. Like it's Mike and Janet, but the rest of the family was talented.
Of course,
Mike.
they're talented.
They got on because the family was talented. Mike is the biggest star we've ever seen.
Exactly.
Stars.
That's not a knock on any of them because they're very talented, but they're not Michael talented.
Mike, ain't nobody.
Exactly. But I'm saying all that to say.
All jokes aside, Mike, when we talk about Mike, we don't talk about nobody else. But
that's what I'm saying. It's unfair. It's unfair to bring him up in the argument to show the biases on Janet because I think Janet did.
Oh, you're saying Mike got all types of biases.
Yeah, Michael's just a whole different thing. I don't think that's fair.
That's fair. No, that's fair. We'll leave Mike out of it about that. That's fine.
Prince, too, man. Prince is a different kind of talent.
He is, but I'm just saying, but there is something male about the fact that it's Prince is just well, Sheila E, come be my drummer. The revolution's dead. Come be my drummer, Sheila E. It's not like he didn't have help, Mike. Yeah, Sheila E. Starfish and Coffee is a fucking song that he got from a woman that he was dating, that they was in the studio one night. He pulled from women to make that album still.
I thought Starfish and Coffee was about an autistic child.
But the story came from the woman he was dating.
Yeah, it sure did. Mad Max with the super chat says, men get the respect because men made the world genre of music and most everything. Name me the vast amount of things that women have created for this respect you want to give. I will say this. There was a woman, a black woman at that, a gospel singer. Her name slips me at the moment, but she's the one that created the distortion of the guitar. Like that rock guitar that you hear with the distortion, that came from a woman, gospel singing woman at that. Black woman. She used to take the guitar. Look it up on YouTube. I forget her name. I'm going to look it up in a second because I want to say her name so people can look it up. But anyway, yeah, she created the distortion of the electric guitar. So there's one right there for you, Mad Max. Jay Short with the super chat says, "You will never build anything alone. I would love to hear any female MC compilation, but we know it would never happen, and that's not men's fault." LP with the super chat says, "Coop, Taylor Swift is dominating a white man's genre. Mike is also making a great point. There should be some breakthrough at this point. Great conversation."
But that's what I'm. Hold on, listen. Right. But you understand how breakthroughs happen? Like, it's kind of like, civil rights got passed. Black people didn't have enough votes to pass civil rights by themselves. White people had to help push that through too. There has to be a push that comes from the other side, not the side that's pushing it. So if the women are pushing it, until the men get on board, it's never going to push over, just like civil rights. We do understand these things, right? Fundamentally speaking, if we look at our history.
Andrew
it's
Williams.
When you get the other factions to buy in that change happens. So the women can scream it. It's not till the men buy in that it's going to change. And you all are being resistant to the change, which technically makes you part of the problem if you're being resistant to it. Because that's very, very much how protest and struggle works. So that's why I'm very alarmed at the things that I'm hearing from black men today.
Where would you ask us to start, though? Do you think what love is?
I'm going to let y'all have it. No, I want love to see this.
No.
All this on Wednesday. I want a woman to talk to y'all.
But do you think what love is proposing we need to just do all around and just say, you know what, there's no more female MC this, no more female MC that, and it's just we're going to just put everybody in the pot and rank it as it is? Because we do have hip-hop ranking
all of a sudden, Mike, we literally have her coming on in 2 days, so let's ask her to clarify those sentiments and get it from a woman's mouth. Like, you don't got to listen to me tell it. It's like, because it's like I'm telling you, I don't have all the answers. I'm just stepping outside of myself and providing a different perspective.
Well, again, this is just a pregame. Yeah, this is just a pregame conversation,
Right, and the perspective of a woman who, quite frankly, just made album of the year in my opinion, and quite frankly, raps their ass off. Is more, qualified to speak on it than I am too. That's why I'm like, no, I don't have all the answers, but maybe love can provide us both some insight on Wednesday. I'm just trying to speak from a different angle. I'm tired of thinking the same way.
You remember when you and I went on Star's show? Shout out to Star Report. This was like maybe 2 years ago now, if that.
Yeah.
And
Star ain't invite me back. I pissed Star off or something, Mike. You be back up on there. I don't be back on there.
I hadn't been on there in a second.
You been back on? I thought you pulled back up a couple times.
I might have. It might have been like a call in. Everybody's just busy. He just kind of pops up and does his show, so I don't really know when he's going on. But yeah, I'm sure he has no problem having you on. But what I was gonna say though, it was a Mount Rushmore discussion, and I think we had to pick like a Mount Rushmore or something. One of the memes maybe was going around. And when we gave ours, Star was like, what about the ladies? And I think that, in my personal opinion, I feel like if we just do away with the whole female MC thing, and with us coming from a male perspective, and us, because we're already going to probably listen to male MCs more than we do female MCs just inherently, right? And just from a perspective basis, I think that what could happen is a lot of women's output and accomplishments could get overlooked in that way too if we take that out of the lexicon. You know what I'm saying?
It's a I get what you're saying. I totally do. Because what you're talking about is that, well, if we just make it a free-for-all, then we run the risk of the women not getting notarized the way they truly deserve at all, is what you're saying. But here's the thing, Mike, this is what I'm saying about like this man-driven world. We need to let the women make that call, not us.
Okay.
Like, we shouldn't make that call. You feel me? Like, if the women want to make that call, then let them make that call, because that's one of those things that when the biases come down, we can say as men, no, this is what you asked for, and this is what you got. And now what Mike D is asking for now in return is to pimp a butterfly, the college dropout, supreme clientele. You get what I'm saying? That's part of how the trade works. What you're asking for Like you give up something to get something. It's like, so in order to tear that bias down, no, let the women decide.
Yeah.
Now, then if the performance isn't there, then audit it the way that you're auditing it. And that's all really I was saying initially. It's like, let's tear all this down and then say the things that you're saying.
If that's what women want, and women want us to just take out, if that's what women want collectively, us to take out the female MC out of the lexicon, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
And
I
we'll
mean,
just
I'm not
judge
gonna lie
everything
to you,
how
Mike.
it is.
I'm just gonna tell you what, but just how I feel, Mike, is somebody that my only child is a girl. Product of a single parent home. Didn't meet my dad till I was 19. Mostly women raised me, like most women, my aunts. Like, I'm mortified at the misogyny that I've heard and seen in the chat today. Like, my mother watches this sometime. I pray that my mother's not looking at the comments and reading the things some of you guys are saying. Because, like, I don't know how else to put it other than that. Like, I'm not going to castigate anybody or judge anybody. And Mike, and I'm not the best. And I've used misogynistic words. I've had misogynistic ways. I can be, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be all of that. But what I'm seeing today is very, very disheartening to me as a man. And I'm also going to say that as well. And I'm dead ass serious about it. Like, it's a problem.
My bad. Andrew Williams with the super chat says, "Y'all in the chat sound so misogynistic. It's not even funny. This is misogyny at its finest."
It is.
Free with the
It
super
really
chat
is.
says, "Let's meet in the middle. Women can't be expected to do what men do, but male rappers have a greater number of other male rappers to be inspired by." Let's see. This is what I will say.
Like, how about this, though? Women can inspire men. When Nas talks about being inspired, he brought up Craig G and Roxanne Shante first.
Mm-hmm.
Craig G, Shan, Rox, and Shante. Because he was talking about, he was like, I was writing stuff. He's like, but I feel like I was writing on their level. But he brought up Shante in that, too.
Yeah.
That's our GOAT, bringing up Shante, a woman. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, the woman can be an inspiration.
I think the foundation of, like I said, and that's why I brought up Salt and Pepper, and that's why I brought up, some of the earlier MCs. I think it's a problem that it got normalized early that women didn't write their own stuff. And I think even now, the way that people castigate Drake for reference tracks, we don't give that same energy to this, to our female counterparts. And I think that's doing a disservice to them ultimately. And, because it, like I said, Rod Digger on the whole album, Dirty Harriet, every line's like, I write my own rhymes. She shouldn't have to say that. You know what I'm saying? And did Biggie do Kim a disservice of doing any writing for her?
But the fact that somebody as talented as Digger is having to say it,
yeah,
is speaking to the problem that I'm speaking about. Think about this, Mike. Let's turn it back around a little bit. You know why there was never no smoke around Lauren having a ghostwriter, right? Because the two guys she were rapping with were clearly inferior to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Wyclef would have been comparable to her, they would have said that Wyclef wrote Lauren shit. You feel what I'm saying? And her thing, even with him, was like, yo, fam, you taking way too much credit for this juice over here I got in this cup. Like, on a professional level, that was her problem. You feel me? She was pretty much telling him, it's like, fam, like, you are this generation talented. I'm all-time talented. Do not mess up my shine with your male ego.
I really hate that she didn't continue on. Because that's a...
I do too, Mike. It's the big. I told you it's the biggest what if, because when we have conversations like this and you hit me with that, I can't help but go there in my mind and be like, and that's where I wish she would have made the album, because I could shut Mike B down with that right now if we had the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, the rap version.
But I probably wouldn't even be saying these things. If that happened and she did those things, I wouldn't even be saying these things. Again, all I'm asking is for proof. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the part of your argument that I do agree with is true, Mike. It's like, no, if we're calling it a female MC and it's been categorized as a female MC, has a female MC made an album to the level that it deserves top 25 conversation? No. But we need to start having a different conversation about why that hasn't happened and stop just blaming the woman. That's like when the white man says it's the nigger's fault.
Jay Short with the super chat says, Coop, every black man has been through real situations, and I can still enjoy Scarface as well as happy stuff too.
And y'all been through a lot of misogynistic situations today, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there.
Raising Yoda with the super chat says, in regard to the women in hip hop, considering men are a majority of the people who listen to hip hop, people like Lil Sims get overlooked because her ... Yeah. LP with the super chat says, Coop, women aim towards R&B because it's more feminine in nature. That's like asking why there are more women in healthcare or education than in the army.
Right. The money and the benefits are better, and so is the treatment. Yes, I'm very well aware of that. That's why I'm saying it's like, no, I never knock them for singing. It's just like when they don't rap, it's like, oh, I lost another one because, it's so misogynistic and less pain over here.
Well, I mean, is it plausible that many women just gravitate to R&B more than they do hip hop? I mean, Love said it herself on a rap album that she's more of an R&B fan than a rap fan.
I mean, Mike, I've been a rap dude my whole life, but outside of according to hip hop and my duties for it, it's rare that I put on rap stuff anymore. I'm 41, like I do my job and I still love hip hop. But Mike, I don't be waking up the way that I used to at 15 years old. Like I need to hear the Purple tape today. I don't. So I'm okay with that because I can understand what that space looks like.
Well, let's go back to our youths, though, right? I think that for the most part, in my experience, I could say in my middle school and high school years, when we were listening to hip hop heavy, our female counterparts were more into Aaliyah, Brandy, and all that, and Monica than they were the Outkast and Goody Mob records that I was into. Now they like those too, just like I liked, some of the stuff that Monica and Aaliyah and them were making. But I think that women generally gravitate to R&B more than we do, and we gravitate to hip hop more than the women do. And I think that's why the marriage of hip hop and R&B coming together was great.
Whoever brought up Taylor Swift, I want you to know that Taylor Swift is an appropriator of our culture, and I would appreciate it if you didn't bring her up during the show again.
What?
Yeah, somebody put that in the super chat about Taylor Swift selling all those records.
Why would you say?
Cultural appropriator. I just want to go ahead and check that.
You got to have a whole segment on why you feel like that about Taylor Swift. You can't.
Show you some music video, Mike. I'm gonna show you some music videos, and we can pull them up on Wednesday in the live show and show them on the big screen so people can see the appropriator in the music video. How about that? Mike, I did a whole African American diaspora class while I was in college where we had specific conversations about cultural appropriators and actually gave smoking evidence to it. I got evidence that she's a cultural appropriator because I got put onto her appropriation. In an educational format. Like not in the streets, Mike, but in school I got put onto her appropriation. So educationally we can break down how she appropriates our culture if you like.
Sure. I mean, I think that...
I'm a dangerous man. I'm a bad man, Mike.
Raising Yoda with the super chat says, in regard to women in hip hop, considering men may not appeal to men among other female hip hop artists, kind of what you said, Mike. You're not gonna put on a record about Lil Kim doming a nigga up. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not. I mean, it had to be so graphic, but again, it's not my go-to. But like I said, if No Time is on, I bob my head to it's a dope record. I can't tell you the last time I listened to hardcore, and that's not because it's not a dope album. It's just, doesn't really speak to my aesthetic, in that way. And not to say everything I listen to does per se, but,
No, Brick just brought up, I saw Brick's thoughts in the chat. Brick brought up my favorite artist currently, which is her. Because her is very Prince-like.
She's dope.
Her does it all. And, everybody knows Prince is my favorite artist. I find her to be the most comparable thing to him since him, actually. Yeah. And she's a woman, but I don't have no biases about her talent and her genius. Like, I'm okay with saying that a woman is the closest thing to my favorite artist and icon, in my opinion.
I've said on this show. I have no
problem with doing that because I'm open to that thought and that perspective.
I've said on this show, Beyonce is the closest thing to Michael Jackson. So
I don't believe that. But
she is. From a performance standpoint, from a
Oh, you talking about
fanfare
performance, Mike? I'm
standpoint,
sorry, them records just not there. Them records not there. I'm sorry.
I
Them
agree
records
with
need to be
that.
there first.
I didn't say she was Michael Jackson. I said she's the
No, no, you said
closest.
closest thing too. But I need them records to be close. Them records not close. Them records is like,
But again, Coop, now we can't do this. You're saying that from a male perspective. You couldn't tell a woman
I'm
that.
saying that from a quality perspective. She got a
Uh,
Quincy Jones. She got a Thriller or a Bad. You want to
again,
know why she don't have one though?
in your perspective, though, there are some people who think she may have a bad. There are some
A
women,
bad? Oh, she might have a
people,
bad.
there are
She might
women
have a
who
bad.
make
She
the
might have a bad.
argument. There are people that make the argument that she is better than Michael Jackson. So obviously, it's comparable stuff there, depending
It's
on
comparable
your
performance
lens.
exhibition stuff going on. I did
Yeah,
not find the quality of music to be comparable, but there might be some things about my side of the argument that are contributing to that. In all fairness
exactly.
to
Because she
her,
doesn't make
right?
music for you. She makes music from a woman's perspective.
But here's my thing with her. I don't even think she's Janet. So even when she's getting compared to Mike, I'm like, well, hold on. She's not Mike's little sister, in my opinion. So that's my thing about the Mike comparison. Is like, well, can she be Janet first?
Some people feel like she has surpassed Janet.
I need to hear the album that reflects that because I don't see no damn Control, Rhythm Nation, Janet. I barely hear a Velvet Rope.
Well,
That's
what if
all of. How about this? We can put Janet and Beyonce's quality on the same level, and Beyonce's quality is not of Janet's stature. So that is why I say.
Well, what if someone told you that, you know what, you're being misogynistic because Janet's records were produced by men. That's why you feel like Janet's records are better because Jimmy Jam and Lewis, produced it.
I would tell you that I'm not perfect, and that might be true, and I still got room to grow. I didn't say I was no god. I just said I was a king, and I'm learning how to be a better one.
Okay.
Right. So that might be true. Mike, nowhere pulling up in this conversation, I say that I don't have misogynistic, chauvinistic, or biased tendencies that come with being a man, because I inherently do. I'm saying I'm open to the growth and development of it because I'm a king, but I'm not a god. No.
Andrew Williams with the super chat says, honestly, we as men just need to stop being resistant and act like we love our women in all levels and everything we will change. Simple as that. Okay. I mean, we do, and like I said, what I'm gonna do.
When a man tells you that we're not handling it right, do you understand the push? Not you, Mike. I'm talking to the people in the chat. Do you understand the pushback that y'all gave me about asking? I didn't even ask y'all to do that. Just the pushback is frightening. It's like, oh, if this is what women deal with, this is why women be pissed off.
Let's see. Andrew with another super chat says also, female rappers making sexual music is also men's fault too, because when Cardi made Be Careful, nobody cared. We just wanted to hear the nasty talk. Well, I mean, some people could say that women want to hear that too. I remember, I don't know if people out there know this song in Atlanta. It was played a lot in the clubs back in the day. Was that I forgot who made it. It was like, put that dick off in that hoe. Put that dick off in that hoe. And I'm sitting there as a young man like, do women really understand what's going on? And when that song come on, women are running to the dance floor.
So
Again, that's programming and conditioning too. But again, all I'm saying is yes, all of us have something to do with the conditioning, but women can change things too. And I know it's kind of like that WNBA argument or whatever. Women make more of the population than we do. If women supported the WNBA, the WNBA would be doing a lot better.
Oh, Mike, this is what I'm saying. First of all, and I've learned this, well, we can't audit the circumstances of what's going on with the women. We can only audit the circumstances on the male side.
That's fair.
Ship to the women's side. So I find those things that you're saying to be true and fascinating and problematic. But we really don't have a dog in that fight. We need to fix this fight first, and then we can get to that fight. But what I will tell you is that by even having conversations like these, this is what needs to happen. We need to challenge each other to think differently, because that's how progress really happens. What's really happened to this world and why progress didn't happen the way that it used to. And I'm not joking when I say this, and I be saying it jokingly. Well, everybody is a little too happy and a little too soft. and everybody is kind of a little too stuck in their own ways. And people have a problem when their way of thinking gets challenged. Okay? Instead of accepting the challenge and choosing to get better and do better, we regress back to the mean of what we know. And it's just time to get better and stop regressing back to the mean. I've been part of the problem. That's why I'm trying to be part of the solution.
And again, I want to make sure people know that I'm not resistant to those things. I just want to, give an honest take, based on. I'm not. I think that we do need to have the conversation, but when we're having the conversation, we do need to be honest about the fact that, of what our perspectives are. And I think my perspective is just looking at these top albums, and I'm like, well, where is the woman rap representation on that level? I do believe that Rhapsody in 09, or not 09, 2019 may have dropped the album of the year. And I think the fact that it wasn't heralded as that is because she is a woman, unfortunately.
So when things like that are happening, it's like, no, we just need to be taking like a proper account of it instead of just acting like that it's not occurring.
The album Eve in 2019 should have been held higher than it was because there was really nothing in its way.
I also want to share something that Dr. Guillory shared with me in the same class that I learned a lot of this stuff about the appropriation. Because we talked about Lil' Kim, and we talked about hardcore, and we talked about the whole dynamic. And this is literally what she told me. This is Dr. Guillory told me. This is a grown-ass woman telling me this. Oh, we've been conditioned to like that suck your dick shit. But when we heard Kim talking about sucking your dick and enjoying it, we felt like we took some of our power back from you niggas.
How so?
Because it's better to hear the woman be in control of the sexual situation in a woman's mind than to hear us be in control of it. As much as they have been conditioned to like it, they still prefer the same thing that we prefer, which is what? Control of the situation. So there needs to be some balance.
And with that balance,
that is coming from a doctor teaching me that black women in this culture are trained to like that type of music, and that what Lil' Kim and Foxy did helped restore some of the power back. That's educationally being taught right now in diaspora.
And what does it say that a man wrote those rhymes? Does it matter, or does it just matters who's executing it?
So Dr. Guillory and me and some other ladies in the class had a slam drag knockout fight about the fact that Biggie wrote some of those rhymes, and every last woman told me, whose mouth? I said hers. They said, who? His or hers, Armand? I said hers. Whose mouth, Armand? Hers. Came out of her mouth. What did we hear? Did we hear it come out of a man's mouth or a woman's mouth, Armand? We heard it come out of a woman's mouth. So empowering to the women and for the women still, because it came out of a woman's mouth. This is educated black women. This is a doctor telling me this. So dudes in the chat on According to Hip Hop ain't about to sit up there and flex on that. That's what I mean about the misogyny being real. I've been you before and been in that room with educated women and have them break me down.
Well, even with that being said, though,
what y'all saying ain't about to play in the room of black
educated women. But who's really
break your ass down the same way they broke my ass down? You gonna get the
But
smoke.
who's really in control though if he wrote it?
Wait till you get the smoke. No. Brothers don't get it till they get the smoke. Wait till y'all get the smoke.
But who's
what I'm saying?
I'm asking you
though. The
though.
whole Biggie wrote the rhymes and the quality, not there, Mike. The quality conversation had that. The wrote the rhymes had that. The women not having that shit. Y'all not listening.
But I guess where I'm confused that, I probably need more education too. But how is he not in control if he wrote it?
Okay, how about this? You never questioned anything about Michael Jackson's control when somebody else has wrote it, about control or command of the song, did you? Have you ever questioned that about Michael Jackson?
I never.
Have you ever questioned that? Like, listen to the question that you're asking and ask yourself, have you ever questioned that about any man writing for another man before? Like Tank wrote for Jamie Foxx on the Unpredictable album. Did you ever think that Jamie Foxx didn't have control of those songs that Tank wrote, or did you feel like it was Jamie Foxx's song, even though Tank wrote all those records? You feel what I'm saying? We don't do that to
Well, I want to answer. I want to answer
that. But I want you to answer, yeah.
Well, I never would say I got empowered by, Michael's, message on a particular song. I think when it comes to writing for R&B artists, you're more wowed by the vocal ability. And I think that Michael's execution and his vocal ability his vocal ability is what drew me to those records as opposed to his approach and his powerful message. I think when you're talking about rap, it's more about the messaging. And when you have
Mike.
somebody putting forth that message and they're moved by that message and that empowerment there, if it comes from a man's pen and a man's brain, I don't see how he's not the person in control of that message. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense because Mike, you don't do that to men. But here's also what I'm going to tell you.
I do. That's why Drake got flack. We do that to
finish.
men, and I've said on this show before too. If I heard that somebody wrote "Dear Mama" for Tupac, I feel different about the record. I do.
But this is what I'm saying, Mike. You keep looking at things through a certain lens, and you're not looking at them the fundamental lens. And I'm going to break it down for you again, Mike. In order for a woman to feel empowered by the things that are coming out of Lil Kim's mouth, what has to happen before? Something has to be stripped. So understand the empowerment only exists because something's already been stripped, which means something's wrong. It doesn't matter how you frame the argument. You don't get to change the fundamental basis of something being stripped. So even when you're speaking to the empowerment, Mike, the empowerment that they feel from Kim saying those things, even if Biggie wrote them, wouldn't exist if something wasn't already stripped from them, and men need to acknowledge it.
But I guess what I'm saying is a man still not in control of the empowerment. That's what I'm saying,
Mike, instead of just being like, okay, I need to look at myself and work on that. You keep on questioning it. That's what women are talking about with men and their egos and the chauvinism and the misogyny. Instead of just accepting it and sitting down and being like, yo, I need to think about this and maybe do something about it. You just keep on questioning, trying to come with different questions and different angles instead of just sitting your ass down and being like, no, something's been taken from these women and they feel some type of way and I need to check myself about it.
Well, clearly, yes, something's been taken.
I went through this in 2016, Mike. The year I started writing for According to Hip Hop, Mike, part of the reason why I started writing for According to Hip Hop and reached out to you was when I took this class. They reinvigorated my passion.
Well, yeah, like I said, I just had questions as far as
You got a bunch of questions, but are you sitting down and reflecting and looking in the mirror and asking yourself, why am I even asking these fucking questions though, Mike?
I think it's a simple question, period. Not male, female, or whatever. If someone comes with a certain message, then the person who's the writer is in control of the message.
No, Mike, because if that's the case, then Quincy Jones is the man and Michael Jackson isn't. Because Quincy Jones was the man delivering most of those messages that we notarized Mike for. That's what I'm saying. You don't get to say that.
I think Michael's different, though, man.
If that's the case, when Janet's talking about being in control, that's really a song about male empowerment because Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wrote it.
I mean, that could be said.
What doing, Mike? No, I want you to go look at Love the Genius on Wednesday and be like, well, I think because Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wrote Control, that song's about male empowerment, not female empowerment, Mike, and watch what happened to you live on air. Like this stuff that you guys are talking about, y'all would never say this to an intelligent black woman live.
I would do that.
If they did, they would undress you, Mike.
I would love to have a conversation. I would love to have a conversation with you, Professor.
Mike, bring up Control and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis writing Control for Janet.
And again, but this is what I want to say, though, Coop. This is what I want to say, and we can move on because I know we kind of short on time and stuff.
I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go. We got to pick all this up Wednesday. Wednesday show about to be long. You about to catch a bad one. These dudes in the check.
This is not about anybody catching anything. This is what I'm saying, and I've always said this.
You can come talk to Uncle Coop. I'm gonna teach you.
This is what I've always said. R&B is different because we're talking about notes, and we're talking about people being able to execute on notes. I never took anything from Whitney Houston because she didn't write anything. She has a once-in-a-lifetime voice, in my personal opinion, the best singer of all time, right?
So does Lil Kim. So does Lil Kim, Mike.
I think where you and I differ is when it comes to people writing for rappers, like the message is basically just being conveyed by the writer. Because for the most part, anybody who's writing for a rapper and who's done all-time great work writing for another rapper are an all-time great rapper themselves. You know what I'm saying? When you got Biggie over there writing and you got Jay over there writing and Nas over there writing, it is what it is. But they're in control of the message. Because the message that's being conveyed there isn't being conveyed because, Lil Kim has this incredible octave spread where she does 5 or 6 octaves that others can't do. The person that's writing Human Nature can't sing Human Nature like Michael Jackson did. But Biggie can definitely execute like Kim does.
Then why didn't he? Why didn't he just keep the rhymes for himself?
Hey, spread it around. He was smart enough to
you
know.
See how, hold on. You see how dismissive you were that quick? Yeah, I want love to watch all this, Mike, since you think you know.
I'm not being dismissive. I'm just being honest.
You are being dismissive. You're like, oh, because he's spreading it around. Not because Lil Kim's super talented and a star in her own right.
She
is.
You
see how dismissive you were? Then why didn't you say that, Mike? Why didn't you just say Biggie was spreading it around? You see how dismissive you were with your comments?
You asked me a question about Biggie.
No, you just did a whole diatribe about Biggie writing Kim's rhymes and forget to mention that Kim, first of all, Mike, that Kim is a great lyricist in her own right, and her best rhymes were written after he was dead. You didn't bring
We've said that before.
You didn't bring up the fact that she has a great voice. You didn't bring up the fact that she was a star. Your motherfucking ass just said he passing it around.
You asked me.
Use the nigga that these women talking about.
Coop, you asked me straight up, why didn't he rap it himself? And my answer was, so you wanted me to go. You wanted me to say all those. Okay.
What did you say?
I said he was passing it around.
Instead of saying Lil Kim was a star, that's the bullshit these women are talking about. What part of
he wrote for the whole Junior Mafia. She was part of the Junior.
Hold on, Mike. And who is the star of Junior Mafia?
Lil Kim, easy.
So why didn't you say that?
Because you asked me.
Said he was passing it around because you got that misogynistic ass way of thinking that you need to break yourself down from my brother.
Coop. You took what I said and ran with it.
What you said?
No. Can I finish, please?
You said he was passing it around.
Because you asked me, Coop.
It's on camera, Mike. It's on tape.
I know, but you're not even gonna sit here and let me talk, right? Look, when you asked me that, you know where my mind went? Why didn't Biggie rap it himself? I thought about the Junior Mafia album. I thought about how he wrote for everybody in the Junior Mafia. So when you asked me that, I said he was passing it around, thinking about all of the writing that Biggie was doing. He was writing for Puff. No. He was writing for Puff and all of that too. So no, that was where that answer came from. And so you took that answer as like, well, why didn't you say this about Kim? Why did you say she was a star? Because I'm thinking about all of his writings. I'm thinking about all of his writings, not just what he did with Kim.
Mike, so listen to me very carefully. When you talked about Michael Jackson, you separated him from the whole Jacksons. You threw Lil Kim ass in Junior Mafia, and ain't nobody ever threw Lil Kim ass in Junior Mafia like that. Everybody knows Kim is the separator for Junior Mafia. But when you're saying that he's passing it around, you're saying that Lil Kim just another person he giving some heat to.
I never said that.
Mike, let me finish talking.
I never said that. You're putting words in my mouth, and I don't appreciate that.
Mike, that is what you're saying.
That's not what I said.
Because, Mike, let me finish talking, please. Because the question that I asked you is like, well, why didn't he say those rhymes himself? We weren't talking about Junior Mafia, Mike. We were talking about the rhymes he wrote for Lil Kim. But you see what you did? You separated it and put her back in the fold with everybody else as just a nobody and an anybody that he's writing for. And you elevated his stature. And in the process of elevating his stature, you took hers down. And you don't even realize you did it, my G. And you did it live. And women watch this happen to themselves all the time. Because the real answer is that Biggie didn't recite those rhymes because he knew Lil Kim was a fucking star, Mike.
Yeah.
Not because he was passing it around.
Cool. Did I even have to say that, though? I guess I did. We all know that Kim's a star.
We're having a conversation about misogyny and hip-hop, Mike. You don't think that you have to say that? That's you not being sensitive to the conversation at that point. It's like, on which level do you want to be wrong about this today, my guy?
Well, cool. We have put Kim ahead of Kendrick Lamar. You and I have gone through the rubric, and we have given Kim her props. And no.
50, Mike.
Huh?
She's the only woman MC in our top 50.
She's the only one that has the resume for it.
And there's a reason for that, and it goes deeper than talent. It's never just about talent, Mike. You always talk about how situations and circumstances help make certain things happen in the field of sports. The Spurs, being with the Lakers, being with certain franchises help. Well, look at the franchise that Kim was with, and tell me anybody else that's been with a franchise like that, too. Tell me anybody that's been around the talent that she's been around. That's what I'm saying is like, that's not fair when you're saying that, because even with the women haven't even been given the opportunities that Kim has been bequeathed at times. And the talent that she's been fortunate enough to be blessed enough to be around and having a big and having a puff. It's hard out here, and you know this, and you just being dismissive of it, like, oh, he passing it around. No, Mike, you officially make yourself part of the problem when we're having a discourse and conversation, and you say things like that. And I'm saying this to you respectfully. I'm just saying, Mike, I've been undressed by women about the shit that you saying, and I'm probably going to get undressed behind the scenes. Oh, I know people going to be in my inbox like, get your boy, Coop. Already.
Well,
know,
I would love for
not,
them to have a discourse.
Mike, the way that you think you talking, Mike, you talk around too many dudes, man.
Can we not have this discourse? Can we have this not have this?
Mike. You gotta stop listening to these niggas.
Can we not have this discourse?
Talk to your daughter.
Cool. Can we not have? Cool. Can we?
What you're kicking out loud.
You're not gonna
talk to a 16-year-old.
You're not gonna let me talk. Can we not have this discourse without people getting animated and just have a conversation about it? That's what I hope to have, with Love on Wednesday, where we could talk about, where to move from here. And I'm just trying to be honest here. Like, someone would be confused in the fact that they're saying that, Kim is in charge of the messaging that was written by another man. Now, I mean, those are some things that I would be dishonest and not trying to get clarification on if I didn't just say that. We can't just leave those things wide open in space and not address them.
Right. But when you had the chance to address that woman's talent, you addressed Big's talent and said he was passing his talent around. That happened too.
All of those things happen. But again, just like our other part of our conversation.
That you lean towards
but cool. Instead of just firing off like that, when I said that, you could have been like, is Kim a star? And I would have easily said yes.
Mike.
You didn't even give me a chance to give Kim her props.
Hold on. I asked you a question.
Yeah.
You answered it the way that you chose to answer it. Stop putting the responsibility back on
you. Coop, you asked me the question. Coop.
If I know Lil' Kim is a star, and you know Lil' Kim is a star,
right?
And I'm asking you a question, why the fuck do I gotta remind you that Lil' Kim's a star and that's the answer?
You don't have to remind me. That's the thing. Like, I didn't even think I had to even say that part.
When we having a conversation about misogyny of women,
you asked me a straight up question.
Why didn't Biggie?
Yeah, you asked me a straight up question. Why didn't Biggie rap it himself? Because at the time, he was giving it to Junior Mafia, Kim, and Puff. That's what I meant by he was passing it around. Now, if he only wrote for Kim and nobody else, yes, that would have been some other shit. But I said that in the sense that I knew how many people Biggie was writing rhymes from. And you took that and just thought that I was discrediting Lil' Kim. I would never discredit Lil' Kim.
Well, here's how you need to look at it. Here's the reality of the matter. When you're saying passing it around, Mike, when it comes to the stuff that he wrote for wrote for Puff and for Junior Mafia, nobody ever brings that stuff up. You want to know why? Because they're men. Always bring up the stuff he wrote for Kim. Mike, you're the first person that I've heard in years on any podcast even speaking to the fact that Big wrote for anybody other than Kim. What does that tell you about what type of world and society we live in hip-hop, even with the way that you're framing it? That's what I'm saying. It's like some of the stuff that you're saying, I know fundamentally what you're saying. You think it's right. I'm telling you intangibly and inherently, it's coming off base if you look at it from a perspective outside of a man's world. Think about the fact, Mike, that when you're saying passing it around, although nobody brings up the fact that Biggie was passing it around because nobody had a problem with him writing for Puff or writing for Junior Mafia. They only bring up his writing shit when it comes to who? The woman he wrote for. Don't you think that's a little odd? You don't think that's a little odd when you acknowledging that there's a bias in this society? So that's why it comes off a certain type of way, Mike. I'm not tripping, and I am passionate about it because, quite frankly, I know you're an intelligent and receptive brother. So my goal in this conversation is to impact you with this rhetoric. Yeah.
You're impacting me in the sense of how it's coming across. You know that what I'm saying is not coming from a mean place, right?
Yeah, no, Mike, I've said repeatedly, fundamentally strong what you're saying.
And I would be dishonest. I would be dishonest if I didn't bring up the things that were coming up in my mind as they were coming. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and that's what I want to do, be able to just be honest, and then let's get somewhere with it. It's not coming from a place where,
No, I'm I'm not scared of falling short or being called misogynistic or chauvinistic even at this point because it took me getting called that in a group full of educated black women to get me to grow.
Can I get through these super chats before we get out of here? I know we got to go.
Of course.
Jay Short with the super chat says Pink, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, even Madonna. They all run to R&B when they need a lifeline. Sure do. Mad Max with the super chat says, and Mary just as nice as any singer in history. Add her name. Mary's top one. I agree. And Mary gets heralded as she should because Mary's an incredible artist. Jay Short with the super chat says, not misogynistic here. Tina Marie wrote, produced, and sung all her own music, and I got all her CDs. Tina Marie was incredibly talented. LP with the super chat says, Taylor is the perfect example of a woman dominating a male-dominant genre. White at that. Women's issues are bigger than the U.S. Starts with religion. Let's see what else we got. I think we got some more super chats here. I think I saw some. I know I see some before we get out of here. Okay, Andrew Williams with the super chat says, it's better in a woman's eye if they say it from their perspective. It doesn't matter if a male wrote for her because it's still coming from her perspective and a woman's mindset and point of view still. Okay, it's a good point. LP with the super chat says, great convo, y'all. 12,000 should have been 50,000 by now. Let's get it up to that. Hit that subscribe, hit like, hit the bell icon so you know we're going live. Andrew Williams says with the super chat, so Mike, can Biggie talk about himself given don't? He can't rap it himself because he can't talk that way. That's why, Mike. Okay. I mean, but this is my thing, and this is the question I asked earlier. Do you think that, because we know what Kim is capable of, do you think that Biggie writing hardcore or writing parts of hardcore, whatever happened, do you think that ultimately undermined Kim moving forward? Was that something that maybe she should have just said, you know what? Nah, I appreciate it, but I got this.
I mean, this is what I mean, Mike. Every time we talk about her, all the men say.
Yeah, and that's unfair to her. Because that's one album.
Wrote that stuff. It's not gonna, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because Quiet Storm is not his pen,
No. Listen to what I'm saying. Hold on. Mike, you told me that Still DRE is Dre's biggest record. Mm-hmm. The fact that Jay-Z wrote it, nobody discredits Dre or Snoop for that. But Lil' Kim gets discredited. You get what I'm saying?
That's because Dre's a producer. I'm just telling you why.
No. That's fair. But still, but also too, and I want people to understand this. People are talking about how I've approached you during this show in the chat. Well, Mike, this is the same way I approached the media outlets and they didn't have a problem with it. You see, when people feel threatened by something, then all of a sudden your behavior is out of whack. Mike, this is the same way I behave.
What you mean, how you approach me with?
Well, people have been talking about how I've been talking towards you and calling you misogynistic during the show and challenging and questioning some of your thought processes and beliefs. But Mike,
that's what we got the show for.
Hold on, right. But Mike, listen to what I'm saying about people's frame of mind. When I pull up on Twitter and do this for Nas, it's perfectly fine that I behave this way. But I do it in the name of women, and it's a problem, and you're wondering why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Well,
That's the proof right there, because y'all let me ride for Nas. I pull up on Twitter, and Nas got a problem. Get him, Coop. People tag me every day about it. But let me address some of these issues that our women are going through with the same vitriol, and all of a sudden I'm acting a certain type of way. It's fascinating how that happened when women got involved.
Well, it's the Kanye thing, right? Like, everybody loved Kanye's banter when they agreed with it. But when they stop agreeing with it, then he's on the other side of things. He's changed. Like, no, I respect the fact that you're passionate about everything that, you're passionate about. Regardless if I agree 100% or not, I think we can still have a discourse about it.
This isn't a disagreement even. Like I've told you, Mike, The things that you're talking about are fundamentally right. I'm talking about the things that are intangibly and inherently wrong. We're just speaking from two different spaces about the same issue. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that, oh no, people don't have a problem when I'm riding for a man. But when I'm riding for some women, all of a sudden I need to chill. I need to calm down. I got to relax. I can't be calling Mike misogynistic and chauvinistic, but so much. It's a problem. I ride for Nas for 3 months last year. Everybody's like, oh, we got to follow according to hip hop. Coop's smoking shit in the street. Yeah, no, you don't get to have it both ways. That's part of the problem that I'm speaking to. You got to let me do this for the women, too, the same way y'all let me do it for Nas.
LP with the super chat says Freddie Fox wrote "What a Man" to Mike's point. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
A body like Arnold with a Denzel face. I don't think Freddie gonna spit that, Mike.
I never knew that.
Is Freddie gonna say body like Arnold with a Denzel face? Is it Freddie gonna? I mean, because you don't have problems in the streets if he says that. So I'm pretty certain it's better for the women to say that.
Well, he knew. I mean, he knew the assignment, you know. And again, I've said this in a previous show, and I don't want to be a hypocrite either. I have no problem if Kane was writing for LL. Hypothetically, I don't know if that's true or anything. I have no problem if Rakim did write "Summertime" for the Fresh Prince, because again, this was giving great MCs some work with artists that were, you know, already working and that were already big. I have no problem with that. I just think from a perspective standpoint and the overall messaging being, you know, a man behind it, I think that's problematic. But if everybody's okay with that and it's all about the voice that delivers it, I'm okay with that too. Who am I? I'm just a man. I can't see things from a woman's perspective. I'm just trying to lay everything out there that, you know, that may be coming across as hypocritical to people. And I have no problem taking out, you know, female MC out of the title, period. I mean, I think that if that's what female MCs want, or women in hip hop, want, and they feel like female MC is a derogatory term, we could take that all the way out. That's not for me to even police.
Okay.
Jay Short with the super chat says Easy and Dre were the problem. The first rappers discredited for having obvious ghostwriters. It's not just a female thing. I guess you could say Easy, but again,
nobody discredits Easy for having Cube as a writer. I never heard that happen.
You're right.
That's a lie.
But
That's
we don't put him on
Easy and Ren. He had Cube and Ren, and nobody said a word about Easy.
Yeah,
it's not true.
Yeah, you're right. We don't put Easy on an all-time list like that, but I do think Easy being the financier has something to do with people being accepting to him having those writers. And the same thing with Dre being a producer. But again, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. Andrew Williams with the super chat says, Mike, we know you're not coming from a bad place, but I think subconsciously you're being misogynistic without realizing. I mean, you know, there are unconscious bias. I mean, I'm a man. It is what it is.
And I'm in the same boat as you, Mike. Like, I'm not in a different boat than you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just forging a different conversation in the same boat. It's like, no,
and I appreciate the discourse. I appreciate this discourse. We need these opposing sides. Excuse me. Leroy Green with the super chat says, I'm later, but since we're talking about females, we need to bring up female rappers like Scarlett getting access to mental health for past trauma instead of ridicule for being street after profiting off of her. There's no more female MC category, Leroy. We graduating from that. So we just gonna call it, you know, Scarlett is MC. Critical Mass says Kim was a lyrical MC. Big dumbed her down to sell. Interesting. Never heard that perspective. I think that's all the super chats. You know, getting things together for this block party that's coming up this weekend. About to post everything from this past weekend's Hip Hop 50 event. Appreciate our man coming out. Hate we missed you at the table or whatnot. I was running around interviewing people, doing my thing and all that. So let me put this flyer up here real quick with the block party. Y'all got to come rock with us. A2HH block party is going to be at Metro Fund Center, 1959 Metropolitan Parkway out here in Atlanta, Georgia. Just going to have a good time, food, you know. It's going to be refreshments and all that stuff too, right?
Yes, sir.
So yes, we got Love the Genius coming through Wednesday. Should be a good conversation. This was kind of a pregame conversation for it. We didn't get to the Static Selector thing, but I wanted to have a full conversation about that as well, and why the '90s hip hop fans don't seem to be supporting what Static seems to be doing on an excellent level. If anybody has this is my theory with the Static thing, right? I'm gonna say this. I know we don't have a whole lot of time. If loving the way the hip hop sounded in the '90s was about the sound and not the nostalgia, and it's about the aesthetic, I don't see why people don't run and jump and just get crazy when Static Selector comes out with projects, because he does everything right from a technical standpoint. So it makes me feel like the '90s hip hop fan is more about the nostalgia than the actual music, because the music is being delivered.
I mean, I hate to bring it up and leave like this, but isn't what we witnessed like with the Nas and some of the KD series and some of the sales a reflection of that? Because it's like you couldn't ask for a better hip hop quality product in today's climate. He's definitely your cornerstone New York rap figure, and just rap figure in general. Like, all things were geared towards that Trapped in the '90s climate that he shouted out on Locomotive, gravitating towards this. And we have pulled up and had conversations about it not happening, quite frankly. So it does appear that these Trapped in the '90s niggas don't be buying and supporting records like they should, quite frankly, which is actually our era, Mike. It's almost like, hi, my name is Ahmad and I'm part of the problem.
Well, you know what? LP brought up a good point, and I think LP's right. He said that boom bap stuff never sold, not even in the '90s. So I guess that's a fair
barely
point.
Going gold.
It's a fair point.
Bones going quadruple, and off East 1999 and first of the month and the harmonizing. It's like, yeah, Bone was killing everybody with the sales wise. Yeah. Jay had to do Annie to sell 5 mil. 50 had to do In the Club and PIMP and 21 Questions to do 10. Yeah, like, you gotta.
Okay, well, before we get out of here, quick question: what's the biggest selling boom bap album of all time? Let's say '90s beyond. What's the best selling boom bap hip hop album?
That's a boom bap hip hop album?
Yeah, that we would sit there and say that's some real hip hop. What's the best selling one?
I go to Ready to Die doing 1.5 mil, but that's part of the transition too. So I probably go to Enter the Wu-Tang, which went platinum.
We got to go far back.
Is Dark and Hell is Hot classified as boom bap to you?
I don't think so.
Me neither. So yeah, I would go Enter the Wu-Tang. That's December of '93. That's 1 million records sold. So that would be the one. Because the Purple Tape didn't go platinum. Reasonable Doubt didn't go platinum. Illmatic didn't go platinum. Ready to Die did 1.5. Infamous didn't go platinum. Hell on Earth didn't go platinum. Southern Playalistic barely went platinum.
Well, you know my theory. Hit songs sell records. Always has been, right? And I'm
supposed to be at work right now.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get you out of here. All right. Peace out, everybody. I think we gave all the plug and information we need to give, and appreciate y'all joining us on this Monday.